Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Questioning a better way, one gracefully disruptive conversation at a time.
We are recording. Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila. I cannot believe it's been a year. It's like the saying, the days are long and the weeks are fast, or something like that. 2020 was, it feels like it went by fast, but then I think about it, I'm like, oh, it was a long ass year. But I'm excited. We have our annual year in review situation with the Ashely Simone Knight. Hello, Ashely. Welcome to TNT again.
Hello. Good to be back. Good to see your face.
I know. It's been too long since you've been on Turmeric and Tequila. I don't know what the hell's going on here.
I know. I mean, someone's been busy. That's really good.
I know. Well, both of us. It's just been, one of those years. But as you know, Ashely is an entrepreneur. She's an all-around badass. She's a model, an esthetician, and she runs a full-time job. So she's out there making moves. You always want to check out Ashely's esthetician business, For Your Eyes Only. She's responsible for my brows, lashes, and probably diminishing her IQ for our 2-hour sessions of beautiness.
Never.
For all of our in-depth conversations that go hours on end. But okay, so we're going to jump right in because Ashely and I were chatting earlier today, and we started to kind of go through what happened in 2020. And again, it's like, but then I just went through like this timeline of events, and it's pretty unbelievable that right off the bat, like January 1, we, have a whole situation happening, and like the virus is announced. So yes, first things first, let's pour it up. And I'm sad I can't be an imposter today. I actually, this is a sparkling probiotic something. We're not getting paid, so we're not going to do full shout out here, but It's not alcohol. Cheers, my friend.
Hello, friend.
Hey.
Yes.
My mom and I drank all the tequila yesterday, so we are doing the cleanse today. So Ashely's going to hold down the party for us.
I can hold down the fort. Also, this glass was my great uncle's.
Dude, that's pretty.
Isn't that pretty?
Yeah. Be careful with it.
I know.
Do not serve that to me when I'm at your house. Get out the Hello Kitty plastic cup.
Plastic cups. They'll be nice plastic cups.
Dude, funny story. I don't know if we said this in the last one. We'll jump in, but Ashely had her Christmas party 2 years ago, a year ago. Was it last year?
Last year.
OMG. Okay. Well, anyways, we have a couple humans on with us. Let's give them a couple waves. I am Rusty at the live. So hello humans. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Ashely was having a Christmas party, and I was like, yo, I'm on my way. Do you need anything? She's like, yeah, I need some small drinking glasses. And I was like, I don't, and it didn't register in my mind, like solo cups or something, like duh. And so I just went and grabbed whatever small cups I had in my house. And one was like this like plastic, like it's one of my favorite cups, but it's like a plastic Hello Kitty drinking glass. And I think I gave you like 2 or 3 rando glasses that were like plastic, but I don't know. We misfired.
Because 2 of those cups were to-go cups. So
yes, that's right. McDonald's to-go cups, dude. I kept it real classy for you. I'm glad we were good friends by then, so you knew the truth.
No judgment here.
Dude, what's funny is I actually use those more than I do like all my nice like gifted Starbucks cups that I got like for coffee. I'll reuse like my old McDonald's coffee cup because it's easier, and I don't know.
It is easier. Yeah. I feel you.
Did you ever
bring out for things like this?
Good. Yes. Thank you. And noted. Like I said, we're going to keep that away, especially if it's another Christmas party for my friends and me.
Put the china away for the kids.
Yes. All right. So we're going to go in, and I got to be 100 on this cast because we always try and keep it real, but we always find the silver lining and the positive. And there is just not a lot of positive things this year. Like it's in depth. So we're going to like keep a smile as we go through this because it's real, and we'll dig in, as you know. But it's kind of a bummer that there's like, we cover some sports winnings and stuff. But other than that, it's just like disease and protesting and, a bunch of people getting called out. I would invite everybody to recognize, some of the patterns that are happening. Like, as I was reading through this, that was pretty unbelievable to see from January, like this, obviously disease and race and COVID, but the amount of men that are getting called out for sexual harassment and like notable, powerful men, companies that are kind of taking a right turn. Like there was just disruption in so many different angles, and it continued to happen throughout the year. So let's jump in. I have January 1, U.S. troops fire tear gas and rubber bullets at protesters, supporters of an Iranian-backed militia at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, Iraq. President Trump says Iran will be held accountable. A day earlier, the Chinese government announced it was an investigation of an outbreak of respiratory illness in the central city of Wuhan. That was January 1. And what's notable there, really quick, and I'll let you jam. The fact that they even talk about the rubber bullets and everything before the virus, which I'm not saying either one is a priority, but it's interesting to see that was secondary news, and now to see how it controlled our entire 2020. What are your thoughts?
Right. Well, I just think it's very interesting how it's been played down still to this day, and yet we're still going through it. Like, make it make sense.
Yeah.
I really like to say.
Man, we're still in that notion. So January 6th, U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention issues first travel warnings for Americans visiting China. So a week later, all they did was issue a warning. And I don't know, I don't remember. I mean, January, I don't think any of us really paying attention. I don't remember really hearing about it. I do remember like January, February, like February-ish, hearing about the virus, because I had two friends that were going to go work in China, and they were going to be teachers, and the whole thing got canceled because of it.
Wow.
Yeah. And the conversation was still like, oh, it's not going to get here. It'll never get here. And I was like, don't we have people going to China every single day? Like, I don't know about that.
Yeah. Well, and going to and coming from, that. And, I had heard about, we'll kind of get to around like my birthday, because, my birthday's in January.
8.
But on my birthday, my aunt was not feeling well. And she had jokes saying like, oh, I have coronavirus. And I was like, girl, what the hell is that? that's how bad it was in America. Yeah. I was like, oh, are you what?
Yeah, no, that's
not
crazy.
Coronavirus, but
well, I mean, it wasn't too long. Actually, I can't even remember. My mom came over late February, and we know she had it, and I got it from her, and I think I gave it to my dad. So we had it very early on, and I even ended up like passing out. And I remember they woke up the next day being like, oh my God, something is not right. And at this point, how you get sick, you feel, and this was just something like I had never felt before. And I was out for like a good 2 weeks. And I remember calling like the digital doctor and saying, I have, cognitive issues. Like I can't smell. I passed out. I never pass out. And they were like, no, that's not COVID. Those aren't the reported symptoms. And flash forward like 2 weeks, it's exactly what it was. So craziness.
Yeah. I think we might've had it around the same time, because I got it after I came from Vegas in early January. And so, here, like, I just felt like super weak. I didn't really have a cough. Like the normal ways of like having like the flu or a cold weren't really happening. I was like, I don't know what's happening to me, but I think I'm dying. So, and I was sick for about 3 weeks.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's affecting people differently. I think I felt it fully for 2 weeks. Like I didn't go to the gym. Thank goodness. Yep. I think I did early on, but I didn't know. But then once it got so bad, I was just so tired and I couldn't breathe and blah, blah, blah. Were you kind of glad you got it? So you had some like immunity or some sort of like relief that it had already gone through your system?
Not necessarily, because I'm still afraid of like catching it, just because like they still have proven that if you already got it, you can't get it again. So I'm still kind of like, where's your mask?
Yeah. For sure.
But more of like at least I knew what was going on, because I had no idea what was going on with my body. I was like, oh my God, I'm dying. This is ridiculous. Because all of the symptoms I felt, I never felt before. I've never felt so drained and so weak. Like getting out of bed was tiresome. I've never had respiratory issues. Like breathing was a problem, and that's never been a problem for me. Like I don't have asthma or anything like that. So that was very, very bizarre.
Well, I mean, like I said, as you get older, how you get sick. Like, when you have strep throat or food poisoning, like you kind of experienced most things at this point. So, it was weird, just like you and I started to have these symptoms and I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, I know this is, I did kind of have some relief that I had it, and I knew what it was. And now I hypothetically had some immunity to it moving forward. And of course, didn't change behaviors regarding masks or anything like that. But I was a little bit glad. The only kickback was I've actually noticed this, and I've wanted to poll some of my like friends that work in the neurosciences, like Rachel from, oh my gosh, no, neuroperformance. Holy cow. See, this is it. And because I think I have like delayed cognitive recall, and it's not the tequila because we're not drinking today, in things. And I've talked to other people and they're like, I've noticed that as well. And I'm like, that's crazy, because literally it's noticeable. Like, when you can't think of somebody's name or something crazy, I don't know if they're associated. I can't wait to see what the science comes out around it, but I definitely think it was a piece of the puzzle.
Oh, I think so too, for sure. Like I feel the same way as you, like just cognitively just been a little bit on the slower side.
Yeah.
And I'm just like I'll mid-sentence and I'll be like, well, I don't know what I was going to say to you, but here we are now.
I know. I'm like, am I like turning into my parents when they're like, that one famous guy with hair? And I'm like, what? Like, I'm going to need one more detail to like pull this within the context. Craziness. Okay. This is, I guess, sort of a private, sort of a positive. January 8th, Prince Harry and wife Meghan Markle announced plans to step back from duties as members of the British royal family. I know we talk about this, but do you follow them at all? Do you actually care?
Yes, I do. Okay. I follow more of like, I'm more of like a history buff. So I like more of like their past, not necessarily their future. Like, I don't really care about what they're doing present time, to be honest. But their past is very fascinating to me. I do watch The Crown on Netflix.
I gotta watch that.
Woo, girl, you gotta catch up, because this season that came out this year, Diana comes into play.
I saw that,
and it looks like her, just like her. Weird.
I saw some of their like interviews on not Jimmy Fallon, but some talk show, and I was like, oh my God, they really, and Charles looks like him. I've never been.
True. Where are you finding these people?
They're out there, man. They are out there.
Like, I mean, I guess they are, but I don't know.
I don't know. I've never really followed them. I do think it's fascinating how much people really do care. And I've heard that Americans care more than the English care, and which doesn't surprise me, because we simple out here. But the attention, and I'm curious. I'd like to see, they're these young humans taking on this traditional space and doing it their way. They're going to start a podcast. They just did a big deal. I think it was Spotify. One of them made major money. So it's going to be interesting. They did a deal, I think, with Netflix to do some sort of video portion on stuff. So it's going to be really curious to me how they change what the royals stand for, or, how they're perceived to be, or how much of the truth comes out from the past. Like if somebody writes a book, or I don't know.
That's what I'm interested in. And so like, that's why you have to watch The Crown, because regardless if the royal family wants the truth to come out, like some truths that you didn't know about them, they put on the show. And like it may be sensationalized, but the things that are truths are really messed up truths.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta watch it. We gotta talk about it.
No, I'm in for it. Maybe we can do a whole cast on it, because I do think it's really interesting. And I guess Netflix had to put out like some official PSA saying this is not real. This is our version. But I'm thinking like, yeah, right. What if a lot of it actually is
sensationalized? It's sensational. Yeah. But like, there's like one episode, like I just don't want to spoil it for you, but there's one episode like what it's sensationalized, but what happened is true.
Yeah.
And what they did to parts of their family is super messed up.
Oh,
but that's I don't never looking for the same.
I think art inspires reality and reality inspires art. So I don't know, like we're going to say it's sensationalized, but I think the creativity is coming from somewhere.
I agree. Like, I think at the end of the day, I don't know. I mean, all families are dysfunctional. So I put nothing past those people, especially if they're like cooped up and, God, I know they're up to some mess at all times of the day.
There's just so much pressure to be a certain way. And I mean, I can't think of having like that idea. Like every time you go out, you have to look and dress and act, and like, especially the women, man, it's prim and proper in certain clothes. And like, there's all these rules to like etiquette, like don't bring your McDonald's cup to dinner. I'm like, ooh, I'm out. So that's going to be a problem.
I mean, we definitely would get like a hard no thank you if we asked to be part of the royal family.
Oh,
but
yeah.
But are we missing anything? No. Are we like cooped up? Can't do like what our passions are? No.
Yeah, it's
are
a
we like? I mean, it still begs the question. I think I'm interested in British history so much because I wonder why they still have a monarchy. Yeah. What do? They don't do anything. They don't do anything to support the nation. And then, like, I mean, I could go down a whole rabbit hole with this, but I think it's very fascinating that all of the men in the family go into some form of their military because they want to still like show that like, oh, they're important. Like, oh, like we have like some claim, like fam, anybody can be in the military.
Yeah. Well, I did hear this. I don't know if this is not true or false. That when they did serve, they didn't get special treatment. But I still think, like, how safe are you? Are they really sending them onto the front lines?
It's still strategic.
That's what I would think. And I don't follow any of it, so we'll lean on your 2 cents here because I got other than like the promos on Netflix.
I think that they are intense on saying don't give me special treatment, and they probably don't get it. Great for them, but at the end of the day, like they're still doing it for a reason. Because when you think of Prince Charles, he never really wanted to go into the Navy. Like,
I don't see him as a fighter in general, man.
Man, well, he's old now, but he was a scrawny little boy. He was all sensitive and just like wanted a hug from his mom, and his mom don't hug. Like, whatever.
Do they show all this in The Crown?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I love all of it. All right, we're leaving them behind. January 15th, the House of Representatives votes to send its impeachment articles against President Trump, abuse of power, and obstruction of Congress to Senate. So this was what was so curious to me, and looking at this, like January, like we literally had foreshadowing of what the entire freaking year was going to look like. I didn't remember a lot of this. Did you recall this?
So this year has been so long. I thought that happened last year.
Oh, fair. Okay. I couldn't remember when. I didn't realize this all was just literally happening in January.
But it feels like January feels like so long ago.
Facts. Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. So we kind of had our first like taste of what was to come. January 20th, the first case of coronavirus, a 35-year-old Washington man who returned from China days earlier is reported in the US. So that was January 15th, our first reported case of coronavirus. Yep. I'm sorry, January 20th. That's 20th. Insane. Yeah.
Right.
January 22nd, opening arguments in the Senate. Impeachment trial begin in Davos, Switzerland. President Trump downplays coronavirus. We have it under control. It's going to be just fine. He tells a reporter during a press conference, China quarantines entire city of Wuhan.
And now look at us. Look at us, Kristen.
I know. So let's like try
go to the house.
I know. I mean, I know none of us could have imagined this, but go back to your, January South. And we're open on our political stances, but like being open to all sides. Do you think you would have supported a full shutdown at that point? I don't think you know what you know now.
Like not knowing what I know now. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because it's so normal. But I think I'm saying I don't know because I think the president still would have been like very like, it's fine. Yeah. Instead of like, hey, this is serious. Now, if, the president was who the president we needed to be, I would say, yes, shut it down because I don't want none of that shit. Yeah. But because the president is who he is, I still probably wouldn't have taken it as seriously. So
yeah.
a fun joke. Hi, Claire, in advance.
Hey.
So it was my birthday and we were hanging out at one of my friends' house. Shout out to Adam and Leah for hosting my birthday party. And we were sitting around talking about, just what was going on in society, blah, blah, blah. And we get to the coronavirus because I told them about the joke my aunt had made, like, oh, yeah, Aunt Stacy's at home because she's not feeling well. She said she had coronavirus. And everybody was like, what? And I was like, oh, well, what is this thing? And so we went down into like what coronavirus is and like how we probably will go into a shutdown, foreshadowing.
Okay.
So Claire comes into play because she was like, well, wait a minute. I got some hair coming in from China. What about my bundles? And I was like, girl.
Yes. Oh my God. That's a pretty good Claire. Okay.
She was dead serious.
Oh, no, I would be. You already know I'm on that team 100%.
That still makes me laugh so hard to this day. She was like, oh no, am I going to get my shipment?
Did she get it?
Of course she got her shipment.
Oh, did she Lysol that freaking hair? I hope that doesn't ruin it.
I hope so.
I hope so
Claire's
too.
still here with us, so she good.
They need to do antibacterial dry shampoo. I'll be your first consumer.
Yes. Anything coming that might have coronavirus on, antibacterial shampoo. You need to go. But I will never forget that. I was like, I'm sorry, wait, we're talking about a possible pandemic. Yes. And you're worried about your
myopic Americans, this is why we're all friends. I think we officially won't be invited as part of the royal family or as a part of the consulting team on as far as disease control or probably anything else to do with government, anything.
And that's fine because
yeah.
I'm going to fight open, and say, hey, put on a mask, please.
Dude, 100%. I'll stick to just having posters of myself in my background and being the most, because that's what we're good at.
I fully support.
Okay. 26. Oh, this was a big one. Kobe Bryant, his 13-year-old daughter, Gianna, and 7 others die in a helicopter crash in California. Billie Eilish wins Song of the Year, Record of the Year, Album of the Year, and Best New Artist at the Grammys. So let's separate those so we're not to gloss over important things, but mostly Kobe Bryant. I can't believe that was January. Holy cow.
That was, hate to be that guy, but that was my birthday.
Oh, shoot, you're right.
Kobe died on my birthday.
Oh.
So I will never forget that because, we went out the night before and had a blast. Turned up. And that was the last time we went outside. That's the last time we went to a club.
Was that January? I went out in March. I remember St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, yeah, St. Patty.
Yeah, that was like controversial then. And I was like, really? And now I'm like, yes, really. Like, duh. But,
So, yeah, so I will never forget that day because, whenever you get like super tragic news, you think it's fake.
Yeah.
So when we found out, my friend at the time had told me and I was like, I'm sorry, what? And so, had to go on this whole deep dive and then the whole day was a wash, I tell you, because, like when something tragic like that happens, more news keeps happening as the day goes on. So it was like, okay, Kobe Bryant has died. Okay, who was on the plane? Okay, wow, it was not just Kobe, it was daughter. Like it just kept going and it just kept getting more and more sad. And then randomly people had footage of the crash, I guess. Like my younger cousin found footage and I was like, I can't watch that. That's too much for me. But Gen Z, they can look at anything. So I was like,
I guess so. Like of the actual plane going down?
I think I didn't look at it, but I think it was just like it had already crashed and there was like smoke or whatever everywhere. Yeah.
I can't do that. No. I feel like that just feels like you're looking at something you shouldn't see and like it's disrespectful. Right. I don't know if that's the right word, but kinda.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Yeah.
It's just I feel like the whole day just felt, not because of me or because it was my birthday, it just felt, the whole day just felt very weird and ominous. Like you could tell that the whole nation, probably the whole world felt away. Like the energy was so low that day.
Yeah. It was just such a huge loss and they're so young. And I really felt for the multiple family members, the mom, dad, and kid. And there was just a whole group of humans in one foul swoop. It's, like that's it. It's crazy to think that that's, just how it goes. Did you do anything special for him? Like, did you light a candle or anything like that? Like, I was just curious what people did.
No, I was not I'm not a Lakers fan. So, also I don't, me, I watch football. I don't watch basket. I don't watch,
we used to, I don't anymore.
I've always watched college basketball. I'll go to a Nuggets game because that's fun. especially if you're sitting in the box. Those
Hell, yeah, because there's beer and nachos.
But beer, okay, and all the snacks. So I'll watch anything if you give me alcohol and snacks. I'll watch.
Or just one of those two.
Badminton. Right. Dude. So I did not do anything for him. R.I.P. to the homie. I feel super sad for his family, of course, because like everybody has a family, so you don't want to see somebody else's family members tragically die. So, you know, I felt really terrible, said a few prayers for their families, but no, that's, and also, I don't really have a person in sports that I would really feel that way about. The only person in sports that I'm like, oh my God, yes, is Terrell Davis from the Denver Broncos.
Okay.
Mainly because he's fine as hell. Still to this day, he's fine.
Acceptable.
And
Acceptable.
When I was like 7 years old, I thought I was going to marry him. I was like, when I grow up, that's going to be my man. And then I realized, you know, that's probably not okay.
You never know.
You know, I mean, I probably wouldn't cry if he passed away. Obviously, you know, say a few prayers for his family whenever the time comes. Hopefully not soon. But I was talking to someone about this. They had asked me like, oh, how would you feel, you know, if somebody that you really liked passed away? And I was like, well, I would feel away. Oh God, I would feel away if, you know, Pharrell passed away. Like we ain't even going there.
No, we have a meeting to have. Let's just breathe on that one.
With this man. Pharrell, if you're watching, great to see you. Thank you for joining us. Big fans. Love what you're doing. You know, this may, I mean, given how this year has gone, it still may be controversial for me to say, but I would be very, very sad. I will be very, very sad when Kanye passes away.
Yeah,
just is what it is.
Exactly, it is what it is. I mean, I was super sad when Whitney passed and MJ, Michael Jackson. If Michael Jordan went, that'd be my other one.
It was Prince that took me out.
Prince
cried that day.
Yeah, and we often talk about this, like separating the art from the human, or even if that art is sport. You know, we got Kanye. I think could be. Yeah. You can love the art and not necessarily have to love the artist, or maybe it's vice versa. You like the artist and not his or her art. But it's funny how we cling to some of these things and humans and inspirations we don't know, but yet it's still meaningful enough to like pull at the heartstrings and like kind of shift our daily, at least on the day of that you lose them.
And they're still humans. They still have souls. So like, I kind of feel like when people pass away, like you feel them leaving this earth. That's how I personally feel. So I felt terrible that the way that they left this earth was very, very tragic.
Yeah. The impact is huge. And I think that's one thing about like celebrity and athletes is you aren't connected to them. It is like art and music where you can digest it the way you want and it can be meaningful to you in your own way. So that's what people, I think, always say you should never meet your hero because you'll probably be disappointed. But it does take something out of your life. Like it takes something.
Like 2020, girl.
Facts. Okay. Rest up. Yeah, Kobe and all the families.
Everybody else that was on that plane, that was very, very sad. Now, moving on to the Grammys, all I have to say is this. I don't know Billie Eilish like that, so I can't really, I've heard a few songs. They have she got a few bops, that's cute, but to win all of them Grammys, I want to know who her label is, what label does she belong to, and what pull does that label have with the Grammy Association? That's what I want to know. Okay. And then when you think, and it's not just Billie Eilish, like it's not her fault. Right. You know, there are other artists who have benefited being on certain labels because they'll get pulled with the Grammy Association so they can get a few Grammys. So, you know, I don't know if you've seen, but a lot of like artists who have won Grammys in the past, like Drake and other people are like, hey, this don't mean anything. Mm-hmm. Just be great in your own way. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, that's like any award. I think and you got to know art is subjective. And so I don't know how they could possibly measure one versus the other. If it's just straight up Billboard, like sales, that's one thing. But then like you said, there's strategic partnerships and marketing budget and people that pay, you know, to get played on the radio. I mean, there's just so many angles to it. Okay, I will say.
They probably send it to Cash App, but it's still payola.
Oh, for sure. And, you know, I think she's super talented. What I do like about it is she does write all her songs and everything's produced by her brother Phineas. So everything they do is 100% them. Do I think they have great writers and some other things that come in? Absolutely. I know really what I did for a minute, but I do think they're talented.
No, like, don't get me wrong. I just can't really comment on her because I didn't fully listen to her album. I probably put it on the background, but I never really like critically listened. But I do think that she has a lovely voice. I like 2 songs where I'm like, oh yeah, I would put that on. But I mean, have I listened to Billie Eilish in the past 6 months? No.
I like some of it, but it's
Billie Eilish may not be for me. And that's okay.
I liked it when it first came out, Ocean Eyes. I thought that was amazing.
But it's the song that I was talking about. That's like one of my favorite too. I really do like Ocean Eyes. And she does have a beautiful voice.
But a lot of it's slower. So like if I'm listening to music, I need something that's like, you know, moving some blood here, and we're getting on to like the
hardcore bass line. So, you know, Billie Eilish may not cut it for you.
Oh, okay. We're gonna big up to Kobe and Billy. January 31st, President Trump bans travel from China with some exceptions. Brexit becomes official, and the UK begins the process of formally withdrawing from the European Union. Okay, so this is 30 days later that we're banning travel. This, I don't know. Again, if I didn't know what I know now, how would I feel? Not that I'm equipped to make these decisions. Anyways, I do think banning travel immediately would have been like the first thing.
First thing you do, 1000%. That's how it even got here.
Yeah.
You know, like pandemics happen because of travel. So sure.
Okay. Well, we'll keep going, but it's cool to just like see, kind of note the timeline of all this stuff. Again, I can't believe it was already happening in January. I thought it was like March-ish, but we were right at the beginning of the year. So January bans. Okay, February 5th, the Senate acquits President Trump after voting against sub-opening witnesses, including John Bolton. Republican Mitt Romney is the only Republican to vote for removal. So that's basically when the whole trial was going on, all the money, time, energy, and resources. They went to that, and he ended up being acquitted, which they knew because it was going to come down to a matter of votes. But they did have one person.
I mean, you know, I don't know, because Mitt Romney is not like, he's Republican. But he to me, he embodies like, I'm a conservative person. I'm not a Republican. Yeah. That's how I view him.
Okay.
Like, I view him as like a sane Republican, like, you know, people that are like super far right are like, this is who I am. This is my identity. And to me, Mitt Romney comes off like, am I conservative? Yes. But am I like so staunch Republican that I just vote with the party? No.
Right. But dude, so most of them do. What'd you say?
Because they embody it. Like, they're like, this is my identity, instead of like, what's right, what's wrong. And on top of that, you know, they got to keep their seats. They got to keep their, well, I mean, we will talk about the election, so we'll get deeper.
We'll get into it. They got to keep, and that's, I mean, it's kind of just like we just said about music. You have all these strategic layers that once you go against like the situation goes against you. And that's not how this all works. So,
and you don't want to retire early.
Right. So, well, and so many other things. You're funding business. I mean, you're scratching backs and your back's getting, I mean, you're just messing up a whole system that has worked for so long until 2020.
You already know what I say. How many hands are you shaking? Deals are you making?
Yeah.
And I believe that of all politicians.
Yeah.
I don't think, I'm not, Republicans are bad, or, you know, whoever the hell else is good. Like, if you're that deep or like rising that high, you're shaking some hands and doing some sketchy old deals.
You have to. Yeah, you have to. You have to have an ace in your sleeve, because you can only be so honorable, unfortunately. February 9th, what'd you say?
Oh, no, I was repeating what you said. Go ahead.
February 9th. I actually think this is the first sign of like some small step of diversity happening without the full situation that's coming. But Parasite, the movie, makes history, becoming the first film in a language other than English to win the Academy Awards for Best Picture. The South Korean film wins 4 Oscars overall, including Best Director and Best Original Screenplay. So I thought what'd you say?
Did you watch it?
No, did you?
Yes, it's really good.
Okay. Is it scary?
No. So basically the storyline is there's this like really like poor family, like they're living like I don't know, I think there's 4 or 5 of them, I can't remember. Okay. But there's this family, they, you know, don't have a lot of money, they're just trying to make ends meet, you know, everybody's pulling a different hustle or a job to try to get through and like make sure that they all can, you know, live. And so someone goes to this very affluent household, and I think I'm trying to think, were they a nanny first? Like they're a nanny first, and then the family member's like, oh, I know, oh, you need this, I know somebody who does this, and then they bring another family member in, and then like none of them do what they say they do.
Okay.
So they're all just like infiltrating their way into this affluent household, essentially taking over.
Oh, that's not what I thought it was about at all.
Girl, it's good. I was like, oh my God, talk about a hustle.
Okay. I meant to watch it. I can't remember. Was it on HBO or something? Which I didn't have, but now I do. Because we'd be sharing codes, but
I think so.
Okay.
I don't be remembering what channel I'm watching. 2020, I don't remember. Once again, the cognitive thing we discussed earlier.
We're just gonna blame COVID on everything. Dude, I love it. But anyways, I thought it was a big thing because again, just like the music, like the strategic partnerships, the funding there, like that's a major big deal. And we finally see some non-white people in the mix, like getting notable awards and multiple notable awards for their art.
And well deservedly so.
For sure. Yeah. Well, and that's also it. This is before, again, the Black Lives Matter, before all of this is coming. Yes. So now I think there's heightened awareness and companies are more open-minded, you know, which is great, but obviously we're very late. This is before any of the hype really happened. So I don't know. We'll give a half gold star there.
You know.
All right.
I guess.
Facts. February 11th, Bernie Sanders wins the New Hampshire primary. Joe Biden finishes 5th behind Buttigieg, Amy Klobuchar, and Elizabeth Warren. The WHO names coronavirus. It might be the WHO, by the way. That's the team that gets together.
WHO, no,
I don't know. That's somebody's Alan. We're live. The WHO names coronavirus COVID-19. So it's officially branded. February 23rd, this is when we start to get into it. Ahmaud Arbery is shot and killed while jogging in Georgia. February 23rd. I also didn't think that was, you know, the first killing, which clearly there was a multitude way before even 2020 January. But I thought like the whole situation really started later on. But this is, again, beginning of the year. We knew exactly what was coming, sort of.
Yep.
February 24th, and we'll unpack everything around race, obviously, here in a sec. February 24th, President Trump tweets, the coronavirus is very much under control in the USA, and the stock market, stock market starting to look very good to me as Dow Jones falls 1,000 points. Let me also note to everyone, I'm not writing these. This is from the New York Post, New York Times. I'll cite this as we post it. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm funny, but sometimes I'm not that funny. That's actually the facts.
Like, I feel like so much has happened. And then like, when you go backwards, I'm just like, I'm speechless. Cause it's like, what's
happening here? It's
at least
insane.
Being honest, saying, I feel.
Yeah. Nope. It's full on facts claiming language of this is the truth. I'm spitting it right at you.
Oh, okay. Gosh.
Mm-hmm. February 29th, the first coronavirus death reported in the U.S. The earlier deaths will be reported later. So that's February 29th. And that's a few weeks after the first case. So that seems like a little bit late, but obviously, yeah, we are getting, I think there is some handcuffs on what was happening as far as the truth coming out there. Yep. Who knows? March 9th, Italy placed itself on a nationwide quarantine to slow the spread of coronavirus. The Dow Jones Industrial Average plunges more than 2,000 points. This is when I actually started to be like, okay, this is for serious. Like we have other countries making this. And once the world shuts down, everybody's watching it. And I actually think the whole George Floyd conversation, it was incredible to see the world react to that. So you can see how interconnected we all really are on multiple levels here.
Yes.
And that was March. So we're still laying out our St. Patrick's Day outfit at this point. And you know what? God bless us. Foolish. March 11th, the WHO or WHO declares coronavirus outbreak a pandemic. The NBA suspended its season after the Utah Jazz center Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
I don't watch basketball. Test positive for coronavirus. E3 2020 video game conference is canceled. Harvey Weinstein is sentenced to 23 years in prison. Tom Hanks announces he and his wife, Rita Wilson, tested positive for coronavirus. Again, freaking, this is March.
A mess.
Reoccurring theme too of these dudes, these white dudes in positions of power, like have these really heinous sexual crimes. They're all starting to get, reprimanded, called out, like things. You can just see this consistent line of disruption through all of these different topics. It's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, March 12th. The Dow Jones Industrial Average falls more than 2,300 points after the U.S. bans travel from the Shenzhen area. I'm probably botching that. In Europe, Major League Baseball suspends spring training and announces seasons will be delayed because of coronavirus. The NHL, the Major League Soccer, suspends seasons. PGA, LPGA Tour cancels several upcoming events. Broadway shows are suspended. So this is when I think the money is like, oh, crap. Like this is... I think the major points of we are truthfully disrupting our economic system, shutting all this situation down, and our social lives. Like I think we just really started to see how out of control of things we actually are.
I think it's more frustrating to see that it didn't get serious until the stock market got affected, or even more granular, our social lives got affected. That's what I find to be really crazy about this whole thing.
No, I agree. Well, and like, again, we're myopic Americans. We kind of do live in our own world. Even if you're paying attention, if you're aware, if you're woke, however you package that, we still, I think, naturally kind of exist right here. And we're not really paying attention until it kicks us out of our little comfort zone.
Exactly.
No easy way around it. March 13th, President Trump declares coronavirus a national emergency. Breonna Taylor is shot and killed by police in Louisville. Mount Everest and the Louvre are closed due to the coronavirus pandemic. Boston Marathon is postponed. This is when I think the pivot really starts to happen on shit's about to hit the fan. And this,
if it hasn't already, I mean, the whole Breonna Taylor thing took me out because, obviously I'm Black, I'm a woman, and I live alone. So what if the police decide to just not really check what apartments they're supposed to be breaking into and they shoot me in my sleep? Like, that's what is, like, that really hit home. And also you think, like, when we were talking about Kobe Bryant and his family, like, you think of anything anything tragic that happens to somebody in a family, like, what if that happened to you and your family? So I think finally because it was just so like egregious, people were like, wow, like, okay, that could have been me, or like, oh, what if that happened to somebody I know? Like, I think empathy was starting to slowly build during that time. And specifically empathy for Black people and the plight of Black people was starting to grow when Breonna Taylor happened, because I think Ahmaud Arbery, it just kind of sounded like, like stuff that had happened a few years, like maybe 5 years prior. Cause they're always killing Black men out here for no damn reason, but a woman in her sleep, oh, we need to talk about that. So I think it's starting to grow a little bit more with that story.
Well, and she was a police officer. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I do think it hits home for anyone, obviously, particularly for people of color and women. However, if you are a person by yourself, but really at this point, just anyone, because you see,
just a woman.
Yeah, I mean, but anyone that's in their house at night, then not knowing. I mean, I live myself, and there was a point 2 years ago where it was the cops, but they, I have two doors, and one's in the inside of my yard. They came in the yard and were banging on the other door, and there was no part of me that was going to answer that. Like, no way. Yeah, so I called the cops from inside my house. And they said it is an officer in the area. We've identified them. And then by the time I went out there, they had already left. And they were knocking to tell me my garage was open, which it was open because the door was broke, or some basic aspect. Oh, okay. But still, I was terrified. And there was no way, as a single female, I'm just going to open the door to anyone. It was like 2 a.m.
No. And like, I don't think that people understand like that fear that you have until it happens to you, or until something similar that you can draw a similarity to like that happens to you.
Yeah. I mean, it was unfortunate that these deaths were happening, and then it was like happening consistently. I do think it obviously drove home the message of how much we needed to start to pay attention and really have these hard conversations that are so long overdue. I didn't realize that Ahmaud Arbery was February, and then Brianna was, what did I just say that was? March 13th.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these are really close together. And I don't feel like I personally heard a lot about either one until George Floyd. Like I did a little bit, but then it like really came out. Maybe that was just my own, again, my myopic space, but I didn't really feel like I started hearing about all of them until the whole situation came out around Black Lives Matter and George Floyd and everything else. Which it sucks. Like then you look back when I was looking at this list, I was like, damn, it was a big deal then. But I don't feel like I heard enough about it until the whole, like, I want to say revolution started happening.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, like I was saying before, like, I don't think it's a malicious thing, but I think the main topic through 2020 is it doesn't matter to me unless if it happens to me.
Right.
I think that's been no matter what topic it is, that's exactly how Americans, in my opinion, think. Unless if it's something that hits home for me, it's not a problem. Coronavirus.
Yeah.
Unless if it's not a problem to me, it's not a problem. Racial injustice, i.e. if it doesn't happen to me, fill in the blank. That's how, in my opinion, Americans have been functioning. And I think that all of 2020 has made specifically Americans really reckon with how they function and how they treat people in society and in their communities.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think just the awakening of being a part of a bigger system, and obviously the whole
knowing you're a part of a bigger system,
and like, the systems
all connected, like you said before.
Yeah, and an awakening of systemic racism and raising awareness of white privilege and what systemic racism is and how it's alive and well and happening every single day, and really having to focus on how to one, have awareness, two, unlearn some of the crap that we had been learning this entire time that just straight up wasn't the truth, and then recognize the truth of no, this is going on. It's been going on. And this is something we need to deal with right this second because we're years too late. So again, it's just crazy to see these major points of disruption on such different levels, different topics, different angles, all converging in one thing.
Right.
So this conversation continues.
Right. Literally through the whole day.
Yo, we're only on March. So like, how much champagne you got left? March 20th, worldwide corona.
This whole bottle is for me.
Perfect. March 20th, worldwide coronavirus deaths toll passes 10,000. Tom Brady signs a contract with Tampa Bay Buccaneers after 20 seasons with New England. IRS announces tax day is postponed until July 15th. Governor Andrew Cuomo issued a stay-at-home order for New York. So this is March.
What was the date?
March 20th. So like late March. Right. We're just getting into April, but that's still pretty crazy. January, February, March. So 3 months. And, we're already worldwide was 10,000, which I'm sure it was way more than that. It was just obviously what was reported. So, what else?
Well, and reported. And on top of that, the deaths prior, they thought it was pneumonia.
And that's the thing. I think it was miscategorized.
Because they didn't know what to call it at the time.
Right. And the kicker is if they give them pneumonia, like medication, that actually makes your immunity worse when it's a virus. So yeah. Yes. April 2nd, number of corona cases worldwide passes 1 million. So their March 20th was 10,000. And at April, we're at 1 million. More than 6.6 million workers filed for unemployment in the US alone. That's crazy. April 4th, president says, what do you have to lose in regards to taking hydroxychloroquine to treat coronavirus?
Yeah. Remember, he was also like, I think we can inject some bleach. Like, I'm sorry. Do you want to let us know how it goes?
Dude, even if you're joking, you don't say it. Some people won't take it as a joke. It's not a time to joke. Read the room. Like it's not funny, but why are you saying that? What? No.
Who hurt you? That's what I want to know. I know who hurt Trump's father.
I would say dad.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely.
Yeah. So now we're at April 5th. White House recommends people wear masks while in public. April.
So how did you think about the mask wearing at first?
I hate them. Why would I want to wear a mask? First of all, it's just weird, and I don't know. There's something. It's not even that's uncomfortable to me. It's just something so impersonable and like so like I'm afraid you're gonna affect me. Like to me, it just feels like almost offensive. I don't know why, but it's like, oh, I don't want your cooties. Like that's kind of how it digests to me. So I don't know. And while it's not really that, I mean, obviously you're keeping yourself safe and you're keeping other people safe as well. But there was just something prior to me really being familiar with masks that was like, I don't want your germs. Like that's how it felt to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I was mad at first, not because I didn't want to wear it, because of the science behind it. People were like, oh, put a mask on your face, even if it's a cloth mask. And I was like, that's not going to do anything, because if you're saying it's such a small particle, it's going to slide right out from me and into you if I happen to have it, you know? So I'm just like, what are we even doing? Just tell everybody to stay in the house. So, you know, that's how I felt about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy though. I will say this, how normal it got. Like now I've ran into, because I mean, you know, I work from home. I'm
you and the people around you.
Yeah. Well, truth. Also true. If you're in, let's say, the city or places where you are around humans, and hopefully you're wearing, because there are actually parts of Colorado. I had a meeting 2 days ago and they were like, you know, how's everything in Denver? I'm like, oh, we're masked up at the gym, at this and that. And they're like, business as usual here. No mask, no nothing. And I'm like, what?
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like
I've gone to places during this pandemic. Like we went on a family daycation to Lake McConaughey in Nebraska, like just hanging out, kind of like a little mini camping trip. And we went to go get like food from like the nearest convenience store, and nobody had a mask on. And so me and my mom walked in masked up, ready to go. And we walked in and they were like, and we were like, so it was an equal reaction. How dare you? How dare you?
I mean, it is. And again, if your community just like else
up there, hey.
But dude, the girl I was talking to was in, I hate to say it, Castle Rock. Like, you're not.
Girl, you didn't know? Castle Rock Lone Tree, they were having that one brunch restaurant.
I did see that. Yes, I did see that. But I didn't know the whole community was on it like that.
Where have you been? I know people who live up there and they're like, it's a hoax. I don't wear a mask. My kids don't wear a mask. I want to go back to the South because of race relations. Like, fam, what? If you don't get out, you don't beat it.
The South can welcome you right about now. So
you can go. And I did make a Facebook post like, if you're so mad about like the election results and you want to go back to your country, it's not America. It belongs to Native Americans. So you might want to figure out what your lineage is in Europe and pack your bags.
Seriously, I don't think Sweden wants us in my cheap Hello Kitty cups either, but that's okay.
Southern people want to go to Sweden, even if they're Swedish. So like, get with the program.
It's so crazy to me that that's like 15 minutes from us. Like it's so different, a stone throw away, and it's crazy. But okay, we're moving forward. April, U.S. becomes first country to report 2,000 coronavirus death in a single day. April 13th, the IRS begins sending stimulus checks to Americans. The 24th, U.S. passes 50,000 total coronavirus deaths. So you can just see in like this month and a half how quickly we go from like literally 0 to 90 death-wise, infrastructure of money. Oh, dude.
So did you get your stimulus check?
I did.
I always wonder if like people got theirs or not, because there was one friend of mine, I don't think she got hers for at least like 2 months.
Oh, really? Did she file her taxes right away? Usually it's people that file their tax and they did it electronically. So you get your funds electronically.
You know, I didn't ask her. I think she might have filed electronically. I don't know how fast she files her taxes. I don't know that much about her personal life.
Okay. Well, and also if you make more than
get her little 1,200.
Okay. There was a few people that said they didn't get it, but you had to make less than 75K. And,
Sure.
For people like us, if you have your business and your LLC, it could be a situation. There's a few angles there. For the most part, though, I think in talking to my friends, that everybody that was going to get one got it.
Yeah. Except for my one friend that it took a while. I don't know anybody who didn't get one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I was impressed. It was as quick as it was, and people were getting it. And again,
obviously, if you're doing things on the black market, I'm assuming you don't get one.
Well, I mean, you might. You're making less than 75K on paper, so you probably did.
File taxes.
Also true. Yeah.
If you're buying and selling and doing commerce on the black market and or selling drugs and or fill in the blank, and you don't file taxes.
Yeah, I know.
I'll say about that.
Well, now people are going to be filing their taxes because they're incentivized accordingly. So that might be a positive.
I hope people learned a really hard lesson. As much as I hate filing tax, actually, I don't really hate it. It's really not that. It's not that deep.
It's not that big a deal. Well,
why you should do it. This is why you do it.
Yeah, and it depends on what your financial situation is. Meaning, if it is complicated or something. Mine could be complicated-ish, but not, I don't know, not really. At this point, we know how to run that lap, so it's not that big a deal.
LLCs, we know what time it is.
Right. Okay, so April 27th, we pass 1 million total coronavirus cases as worldwide total passes 3 million. May 5th, okay, so this is, when was Ahmaud? Was that January when he was killed?
Ahmaud was in February.
Okay, so now here we are. May 5th, March. The video showing Arbery's death, killing is leaked. So February, March, April, May, 3 months for that to come to light. That's crazy. And then it goes, the 7th, Gregory and Travis McMichael are charged with the murder in Arbery's case. Department of Justice drops case against Michael Flynn, who had pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI during an investigation conducted by Robert Mueller. So they... Within 2 days, I guess the video, I couldn't fully remember this. I mean, I knew the video was a key piece, but within 2 days they had convicted them. Did they go to jail?
Arrest going on. Yes. I can't remember if they posted bail or if people posted bail for them. That's what's a little fuzzy to me, but they definitely did get arrested.
For some reason, I was thinking they took their own lives. No? Mm-hmm. For some reason, I thought they took their own lives, the son and the dad.
No.
Okay.
The interesting thing about that case is the guy who filmed it has been charged with murder as well.
Yeah, I have that in here, which I thought was, again, a phenomenal statement, duh. But I guess I have my bar very low.
What are you doing standing by watching? What is wrong with you?
You
have these conversations before. If you see something, say something.
I mean, but that's a whole psychological conversation. It's like when young children harm animals, those are the kids that are most likely to grow up and be psychopaths. We have a deep conversation there around an individual that can look at that and not, even if it was 2 white people and they videoed it, or any situation that you don't act and there's death happening, that's not okay.
It says a lot about you as a human.
Yeah, we're better off you are in quarantine somewhere, as in lockdown, because that's a whole, who knows what your next decisions are going to be.
Thank you.
But big up to our system for actually putting him behind bars and adding that in. Yeah.
Actually working.
This dude, and I thought this was interesting. The whole Robert Mueller thing, we already Trump, it's a whole thing. But May 11th, Tesla CEO Elon Musk says he will reopen a California factory in defiance of a local shutdown order. U.S. passes 80,000 coronavirus deaths. I didn't know this. And Elon Musk, I don't know. I mean, some people really have a thing for him. I think he's done great things. I think he's a phenomenal business person, excuse me. And again, this is separating the art from the artist. Do I think he's morally loose? Absolutely. I don't really know a ton about him. Yep. I wouldn't buy a Tesla. Not most people just don't like the look.
He's very intelligent. I think that the things that he, is inventing or, you know, about to implement into society is going to be super fire. And that's great. I think Pharrell said it best. He wishes that Elon Musk would like, he wishes there like was like an Elon Musk that cared about like social justice or like how people function with each other in society, because his brain works like fabulous for the things that he's putting out into this world. He wishes he could use his brain to apply it to like, you know, how we can treat each other better.
Yeah. I mean, I think completely agree.
Nothing's happening to Elon Musk right now. So, I mean, I don't have anything bad to say to him. I think he's just a product of, if it's not happening to me, it's not happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where his focus is right now.
And leave it to Pharrell to hold it down and break it down. You already know. I agree. And I think that is, it's hard. And those are the people we need the most to step up and jump in, because they're the ones that everybody's watching, and they're so like, they do have influence and impact. And if we can get those guys to maneuver, my mom just jumped on and get in the mix. Hey, then, you know, that's huge. And that's where the money is, you know, nothing changes until the money's disrupted. So it's critical that those humans that have, you know, the major financial wealth and influence in general step into this light. But here he is. It might have been like a piece of karma though, when he threw that brick through the indestructible car and it flew through the window. I mean, again, this is some shit you can't even write. So it's hilarious. Literally, it's like the most indestructible car ever, and the rock flew right through the window.
Like, I'm sorry, what?
I know, dude. Okay, May 8th, U.S. unemployment hits 14.7%. I think historically it operates around like 1 or 2%, doesn't it? Like it's super, super low.
Super low. And I think they think it's high when it's like 4%.
Okay, which I mean, that is kind of high. 14 is crazy. And I don't know what it is right now, but I'm assuming it's close to that.
I don't know what it is right now because it's been doing some things.
One plus, it's just, you know, yeah. No one has a job. May 15th, worldwide coronavirus deaths. What'd you say?
Do you have, just to ask, how many people did you know were unemployed during this time? Because I knew, okay, minimum 3 people.
Oh, I probably know like 6 or 7. And like, especially like small businesses like me, like they might have still been running, but it was like at a very minimal situation. So I mean, my mom just jumped on, owns a swim school. You know, they had to pull back, they closed down, and they finally reopened, and they're in chlorine all day. So it is safe. But dude, there's not one person I know that as a business professional that wasn't impacted. Even if, you know, there was winners and losers in this. Some, you know, if they owned Peloton or some at-home fitness company, like some people really did well, but even then they couldn't, shipping was impacted. And even if the business was coming in, there was some leg of it that was a problem because the world as a whole was, you know, in a mess.
Yep.
So it's crazy. May 21st, William Bryan, the man who filmed Arbery's death, is also charged with the murder. So that's the 21st. And they were charged the 7th. And then they got the video the 21st. And then May 25th, George Floyd is killed by a police officer in Minneapolis, sparking protests against police. Brutality and racial injustice, protests, rioting, and looting follow. So I didn't realize those two, like the conviction and then George Floyd happened right after that. Like I didn't realize it was that consecutive. So man, the building of all of this, like the tensions, and this is what I was saying before, it was really, I hate to say cool, but it was unifying to see not only Americans stand up and say this isn't working, but the rest of the world. I was blown away when you saw protests in Australia. That's what you should be, but I guess in my mind, I wouldn't think that the rest of the world cares what's going on in America. Maybe again, that's my own preview. I don't know.
So like, I think 2 things. I think 50% of it was they cared about, you know, just human beings, and, you know, things were happening in America and they were like, wow, that's ridiculous. Also, I think if you look at the countries that were protesting and having their own uprisings, they were British owned or colonized places as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Got to draw those parallels. So I'm sure they've had their own sense of racism. They've had their own colonization. They've had their own issues that stem from British colonization.
Yeah.
And all of this is like coming to a head. And they're like, oh yeah, us too. We sick of it. Let's go. Let's protest. So that's what I think has been happening.
I completely agree. And once I really thought I was like, duh, of course they're going to say something. Just in my own traveling, I don't feel like people in general love us, loud Americans just doing our American thing in sweatpants and dirty hair. And I probably have to do both those things, but it's, I just didn't think they'd come to the conversation. Obviously it's bigger than just America and whatnot. So I don't know. It was just really cool for me to see humanity unite and say like, this is it. That's it. We're done. This is a full on uproar and things are changing right this second.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that was May 25th, George Floyd. May 29th, CNN Center in Atlanta is damaged during protests over killing of George Floyd. Former police officer Derek Chauvin is charged with murder and manslaughter. Twitter places content warnings on posts made by President Trump encouraging violence against protesters. I want to unpack this a little bit. How much do you think Twitter and some of these social media platforms should lean into censoring us? Like, do you think that impacts our freedoms, or they do a responsibility there? Like, what's your vibe there?
I think they have a responsibility.
Yeah.
I also think like, it's just like, I think because we're in America and hashtag capitalism, everybody's like, oh, we should be able to do what we want, how we want. Yes, but where is moral ethics in this? I feel like a lot of companies that are starting up these days or like blowing up these days, I think they're forgetting the moral ethics part of running their business. And so I think this kind of like put a mirror on that of like, okay, well, what are you doing when you have all this power and all these resources, when something isn't right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm always going to be on the side of like, what is morally right at the end of the day, so this will be like one of like, we talked about this offline, but this didn't come out of my therapy session, but this came from one of my really good mentors / esthetician teachers. Shout out to Miss Marilyn. She always talks about, whenever we have like a discussion about anything, she always asks me, where is your plumb line? So do you know what a plumb line is?
A plumb line?
Uh-huh.
Like a plumbing line? Like through your house? Or a plumb line from a plum?
I wish it was from a plum because
okay.
It's just right now. So she says a plumb line is like you take a piece of string, stick it to the top of the wall, and then you put a weight on the bottom because it hangs completely straight. So when you're hanging wallpaper, so like the example is, let's say you want to hang some wallpaper, you set a plumb line. So exactly straight, your wallpaper is exactly straight.
Got it. Okay.
So let's say you didn't use a plumb line and you're just like, oh, you eye it like, oh, I think this is straight. Let me just set it here, but it's not quite perfect. And you keep laying wallpaper. You keep laying wallpaper. You keep laying wallpaper. Where are we at?
Yeah.
So she always asked me, and now I always ask people, where's your plumb line? You ask all these companies, where's your plumb line? Where are your morals? Where are your values? What are your standards?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't have it straight, it'll look like this once you get that far down.
I like that. Now I know. I think that we'll fully understand, because I've heard that before and I didn't fully, I think I could get it with context of reference, so that's good to know what it actually is. But it's so funny that it is like the moral corruption and the way some of these companies have been so morally loose forever, and that's kind of been status quo, is insane. But again, a disruption point of that is no longer allowed, and this isn't going to be a thing anymore.
It's here now. We started here, and now the wallpaper is literally at a 90-degree angle. That's why we're having issues right now, in my opinion.
Agree. And insert our youth that know how to make all of this transparent in a click of a mouse.
Yes.
So it's, there's that the points of accountability and the checks and balances are now everywhere. And I think that Twitter and Facebook do have a responsibility to censor the truth. I'm obviously very free. I like, our freedoms, and I don't like being controlled by the government and whatnot. I do think that when we get to such an in-depth society that we are consuming digital media so much that you have to have somebody pulling back on saying what is the truth and what isn't here, because this is also, there's so much fake news and it's so easy to manipulate it. So I do think they have a responsibility, but I do think it can also get hasty on how much they infiltrate into censoring what we do and don't see, hear, and read.
Absolutely. And once again, it just goes back to like, what are our values?
Yeah.
What do we value? What are our standards? And I think it's gotten so far low. And, you know, I hate to say it, but like things like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, they kind of have like journalistic responsibility. It's not what they intended to have, but it's what it's turned into. It's kind of like, you know, it's like when Rihanna was like a tiny little pop star and now she's like this big mogul. I remember when she was getting really big and people were like, my child listens to your music and it's very inappropriate. And she's like, I'm not your role model.
Yeah.
You know? And I feel like that's how companies, or at least like their CEOs, like, you know, Jack Dorsey and all of them are like, we didn't intend this, but that's what it is now. So you need to respond accordingly or sell your company. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'm not trying to hear like, oh, that's not what we intended. Okay, but this is 2020 and this is where things evolved, and you have massive control
off of it. So you need to do something about it. It's not what you intended, but it's something completely different. Like Facebook is not what we intended when I was in high school and college. Yeah. You had to have an .edu email to get onto Facebook. Now it's full of like, you know, your old family members that put inappropriate posts. It's full of mess, man. Like it's not what it was intended to be.
Yeah,
so act accordingly. You have the responsibility. It is your company. You have a moral responsibility. Back to moral ethics. Where are they at?
And you're making millions of dollars and you have control. Like you can see all the actions, all the data. Claire just jumped in. She said, hey fam. Hey Claire, you just missed a story about you, girlfriend. It was a good one. Don't worry.
We're not turning these millions of dollars away. So you have a whole lot of nerve to say, this is not what I intended, but you're willingly taking those billions of dollars into your bank account. You have moral responsibility now if you get paid.
I think, again, the more transparency, the more conversation that happens about this, I do think they will have a moral responsibility and they will have checks and balances by young people choosing to delete Facebook or get off or do something. Like there'll be some sort of major checks and balances. It's already happening. People are getting off social media, what have you, because it is getting, you know, just out of control, and they're monetizing every angle of data. But the more people understand what's going on, I think the more they're going to start asking questions and either deleting it or calling them out and demanding responsibility. So we'll see. I'm curious to see how it shakes out in the next, like even couple years, maybe even less than that, just because, you know, employees are going rogue. There's that Social Dilemma, the documentary that called things out.
Social dilemma.
Facts. Like it's happening. Okay. June 1st, protesters are cleared from Lafayette Park in Washington, D.C. with pepper spray and rubber bullets prior to Trump walking from the White House to a nearby church for a photo op.
This is my upside down Bible.
I wonder, I mean, you have a from the business perspective, you have a major team behind you helping you calculate these PR moves accordingly. And I'm just wondering where the checks and balances are that are like, I don't know how this is going to be received. Like, is this the right move? Or we're just doing it, which I think that's what he's doing.
I think they're just doing it.
Yeah.
Also, I don't think they have a lot of moral anything in that camp. And that has been since before this man was campaigning up until him being president now. So I think, you know, that was kind of on brand.
Oh, agreed. But I think even though
administration and who he is, it was on brand.
It's bizarre though. I think even though Claire just said, yes, Carlos, okay, you got a little echo. Oh shoot, that might be from this. Let me see. I got echo happening. Poor Theon, he's gonna have to deal with this. And thank you. What was I saying? Something super in depth.
We were talking about Trump.
Yeah, I was saying, even though like you're for or against him or whatever it is, like fine. I think everyone can agree it was bizarre. Like some of these things are just like, it's bizarre. Regardless if you're in it for it or against it, it's kind of like, why? Like, I don't get it. Like, what's the point?
I still want to play devil's advocate and say there are some people who are like, no, he loves the Lord. He just happened to not have it right side up. Like, there are really people out there.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, okay. Like, I don't know how that, can fly,
but we'll get to the election because we'll talk about how the election was split.
Yeah. Yeah. We're getting to that. Okay. Moving forward. June 3rd, 3 fired Minneapolis police officers are charged with aiding and abetting murder for their role in George Floyd's death. So was it a month later? May 25th, and then they were convicted. Okay, so it was, I don't know if I want to say that's fast enough.
No.
But it was quicker than Ahmaud Arbery. So I think you can see some sort of like push there. Again, I don't.
Because the footage was there instantaneously. Ahmaud Arbery's took how long to get leaked?
Yeah.
George Floyd's footage was not leaked. It was just there for everybody to see.
Immediate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think that's
why I think like, always like have your cell phone on you, always like be ready to record, because you see how much quicker there was more arrests this time as opposed to the Ahmaud Arbery situation.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I think, again, this is our young humans or whatever age stepping in saying, here's the checks and balances. Here's what it is. Like, here's the truth. Pivotal.
You know what we forgot? Or I'm not sure if this was around the same time, but remember the Central Park Karen lady?
Oh, the dog. When was that? That wasn't on this. And I would have put it in there if it was. No, was that before George Floyd? Was her name actually Karen?
No.
Oh, okay. I was hoping that was true.
No, it just became a new moniker. Oh my God. It was spring. It was around that time because it was like springtime because the man was bird watching.
Okay. I can't, it had to have been. Yes. Well,
so
it had to have been close.
The time that we're discussing. So at least we're in the same area, but shout out to the people who took that dog from that vicious lady.
Do we know where the dog is now?
They gave the dog back. But
they did give it back?
They gave the dog back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dog, if you need a home, come to the dollhouse anytime, dog. Woof.
Look,
no pun intended.
Will not choke you out. We will love you.
Oh my goodness. Okay. May 29th, CNN Center in Atlanta is damaged during protests over killing George Floyd. Former police officer Derek Chauvin is charged. Oh, no, I read this. Charged with murder and manslaughter. Twitter places content warnings. Maybe. Oh, no, we did read this. Here we are. June 7th. Demonstrators pulled down the statue of 17th century slaver Edward Colston in England and throw it into a nearby harbor. First of all, I didn't know it was called a slaver, someone that owns slaves. Did you know
that? Enslaver?
It just says slaver.
Or, oh, no.
I don't know. That's not part of the point, but either way, I was like, I don't know some of these terms, so we're here. I thought this was pretty amazing because I think this is one of the first things where people were coming out and like full on using their voice and or muscle power to.
Right. And or actual energy to take things down and get rid of it.
Well, I also think it's notable for like around the protests. Like, I don't think anyone really advocates for violence. However, sometimes things aren't listened to, unfortunately, until something crazy goes down. But I will say it was happening on all sides. There was people protesting because of George Floyd's death. There were people that were setting out bricks just to be, looters and, antagonists. And the protest I think is kind of a whole podcast in itself, because I do think protest is a fundamental American right, and it's critical that we have that. And you got to see who's out there doing what and why, because it's not just as simple as it seems.
Yeah, for sure. I think this goes back to my previous statement of this is where you start to see like empathy for the plight of Black people start to grow, and then it started to turn into action now. So it's manifested into action. This is what we're doing. We're taking down statues. Companies at this time are getting rid of Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben, like
Mm-hmm.
whatever they feel like they need to do that helps the situation. That's what's taking place now. But I feel like it's starting because finally empathy for people outside of yourself or who don't look like you is starting to take place.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think the other good side of the protesters is like, maybe if you don't have all your friends do look like you, at least at the protest, you were seeing people like that agreed with you in what's going on that didn't look like you. And maybe that was your first interaction with someone that didn't look like you, which is kind of crazy. And I think that happens all the time. So I do think it was like an immediate intermingling of realities. And I'm hoping, I do think a lot of conversations came from that and a full on awakeness. I do have a little space for all my people of color that have had to hold my white hand included and saying like, okay, are you ready? Are you listening now? What else what questions can I answer? I'm here. It's kind of like, okay, like, thank you for your patience, kindness, and understanding that we do not deserve. But it was critical in the evolution of things moving forward. So there's my special thank you to every person of color that took a moment.
Are at different like levels in life. Like me and you have had this conversation. I'm experiencing racial fatigue. I'm tired.
Yeah.
And so like we're like, wow, like all of these things happened so quickly and so together. I was literally experiencing that and feeling that experience this entire time. So I've been exhausted. But thankfully, there are other Black people out there that are like, no, let me hold your hand. Let's have a little lesson. Let's talk about this. That's why I get so excited that everybody does look different or everybody looks different. That's the whole point of this thing. Because if everybody thought like me, we wouldn't get anything done. Be a hot mess. So,
well, you're pretty organized, I gotta say. So I don't know about that. It's completely true, but no, I hear what you're saying. And dude, and diversity, not just even in skin color, but like, or gender or socioeconomic status, but thought process and, all the,
yes.
It's so critical. I mean, I think we've talked about this, the diversity pro tips, where even if it's like, oh, I cook a lasagna this way, well, I cook it this way. And it's like, oh shit, thank you. That is the best pro tip I've ever had. So like those little things, like those pro tip life hacks that you can get from your friends that do or don't look like you, the fact that we're sharing our diverse pro tips makes life easier. Like it's a good thing.
And much richer. I don't want to be around and I love being Black. I love Black people, but I don't want to be around only people who look like me. Do I get really excited because I live in a very white state and I grew up in a very white neighborhood? Yes, I get excited when I see only Black people, but the richness that I experience, like some of my dearest friends or dearest family members are not Black. Okay. Like in my family, we have everybody in our family. And that is something that I treasure and something that I like to tout in front of everybody. Like, no, like, yes, I'm Black, but we got everybody up in here. Like, I'm proud to say that. I'm not like, oh, like we just stay in here. Like, it just makes me speechless because why would you only want to, why would you only want to be like homogeneous? That's just so bizarre to me. It's always been very bizarre to me.
I don't think you even know that you want something different until you have it, because it's like the way you set the table every night. Like every night until someone's like, did you know it's easier if you put the fork this way? And you're like, oh, well, duh. Like you don't know until you need to know. And it's like, oh, you're right, this is way better. But like we do just get into our little myopic space and run our circle of life, especially as you get older, things get comfortable and routine and it's easier. Like it's hard to have these conversations and blah, blah, blah. And you're missing out on all the good stuff that comes from a diversified family.
Have you had Chinese food? It's so good.
Yeah, there you go.
Have you had Puerto Rican food? I cried when I left Puerto Rico.
I believe that. Dude, authentic Chinese food though. I don't know if some of these cultures are claiming some of the American establishment's happening.
Oh yeah, no. The place that I go to in Aurora, oh my God. And like we've been going there damn near 20 years.
Which
like,
place is it?
It's called Golden Walk. It's off of Hampton and Chambers. Woo! That place is amazing. I love it so much. Get that shrimp fried rice. Always ask for the extra shrimp. Big shrimp. Oh, Jesus.
Noted. I don't think I've gone there.
And it's family owned. Like it's the
Okay.
same family. They've seen me and my sister grow up. We've seen their kids grow up. They got grandkids now. It's a whole thing.
Oh, I love
Like
that.
he knows our order. As soon as we start ordering, he's like, "Oh, the 4 extra shrimp." All right. He knows.
He's like, here they are.
He loves us, and we love him.
Yes. Well, back in the day, over in Aurora, there wasn't that many like businesses. Like Eagle Crest, my school, but there was nothing out there. Now it's full of houses and commercial situations.
Dirt.
Yeah, there's just not that much like happening. So, I mean, I love it. Good to know. I'm here for the family biz, so we'll get on that.
Well, maybe we should have for my birthday. God, that would be so good.
Okay. Rashad Brooks. So June 12th, Rashad Brooks is shot and killed by police in a Wendy's parking lot in Atlanta. The restaurant is burned down the next day. That part I didn't know. The shooter is later charged with murder and his partner charged with aggravated assault. They burned down the Wendy's?
They sure did.
Oh shit. Okay.
I saw it. So like, here's my thing. Do I condone violence and burning down of things? No. But if nobody is getting listened to, if nothing is changing, if nobody is like, once again, if nobody's listening, things are going to burn. Okay. Yeah. So do I condone it? No. Am I saying please stop? No.
Yeah. Well, you look at our history as humans in general, nothing really changes until there's like deep disruption. And usually that's war, destruction, murder. Like that's when the pivot points happen, unfortunately. And as humans, we still are kind of animalistic like that. And I don't want to disrespect animals, but we kind of had those natures. And you have to see
all of these things from murder. All of these people have been murdered.
Yeah.
So why would you think that somebody being murdered is not going to be met with the same energy? If you want to go like that deep and woo-woo, energy meets energy. If you're going to murder somebody's going to burn something down. Okay.
So it's not funny. Let's
come down.
Well, I mean, did the Wendy's owner have anything to do with this? Like, my business stuff was like, damn, you caught a tough break there, my dude or female, like that.
Days all day. I mean, do I feel sad for the franchise owner? Yes. But at the end of the day, like I know when all the protests were happening, I know there were a lot of like small business owners. They were on one side or the other of like, oh my God, this is my business. And then there were other people who were saying like, this is my business, but this is crazy. This is ridiculous. And if my business has to suffer, fine. So
well, that's obviously, there's a larger conversation there, 100%. And I think we talked about this on one of our last casts. It is, and it's just kind of like a piece of the puzzle.
Last cast we did the open mic.
Oh yeah, duh. That's what it was. I was trying to think. I'm like, which one was it? Yeah. I got to go back and listen to the year interview last year and then listen to this one just so we can see how different things are and what, field of dreams we had at that point.
Like, I feel like we were talking about Disney movies and I was trying to convince you to watch one, like simpler times.
Well, that didn't work, but
we'll get to that. We'll get to that in December.
Okay.
It's coming.
Acceptable. Okay, we'll breeze through some of these. Supreme Court, June 15th, Supreme Court rules employers cannot discriminate on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity. This is just now passing. Did I miss this? Like, why wasn't this a thing a long time ago?
I think so don't quote me because, whatever, politics is not my jam, but I think Obama's administration had passed it. And I think, so I know for a fact that like the Trump administration was rolling some things back, especially when it came to transgender rights. So
I knew
I'm
that
not
about
sure
insurance and whatnot.
Especially that, which is like, I'm sorry, do you want people to live out here? What is wrong with you? And also, I'm sorry, like, I've had champagne, but I just have to say, what does anybody doing in their personal time have to do with you?
Why do you even want to know?
Your business.
Yeah.
Human beings need insurance. What's wrong with you? And why do people get to decide that? That doesn't make any sense. How would you feel if somebody decided that for you just because they didn't like one small aspect of who you are?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm off my box.
No, I mean, I'm with you 100%. I just think it's ridiculous. It's weird. I don't need to know anyone I'm working with what your choices are. If you want to talk about it, it's a thing. Okay. That's a different conversation. But in general,
anything, it has nothing to do with how do you get your work done every day. as long as you do your job, I don't care what you do when you go home. I don't care. Like, what? Oh, drives me crazy. Drives me crazy. And
employers,
once again, I hope people are showing more empathy for other people, because how would you feel if you're a cisgendered, person that, likes the opposite sex? Good for you. You don't have to think about these things every day. You don't have to think about, oh, am I going to get insurance? Oh, am I going to get beat up today because they don't like one tiny aspect of my life and my lifestyle? That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, I think there's a lot of assumptions being made. I don't think people walk around being like, I'm straight, I'm gay, like whatever. Like, I think people are judging them off of their apparel, maybe their actions, or I don't even know what, but it's got to be a lot of assumptions. So I don't think people come in broadcasting their sexuality, whatever it is.
And it is a lot of things. One of my really good friends, I'm not going to say his name because I haven't discussed that I'm doing this, but he went in for a haircut. And, it was like a brand new haircut. He just moved to Denver and he was getting his hair cut. He seemed like he thought the guy was nervous. So he was a little nervous of the guy cutting his hair, but he did a good job. And so he was asking him questions while he was cutting his hair, like, oh, do you like Denver? Okay, how does your girlfriend like Denver? And he's like, fam, I'm gay. Like, obviously he didn't tell him he was gay, but like, why would you assume that this man sitting in your chair is a straight man?
Yeah.
You don't know what he like. And and that's where we get into pronouns. Like, we could go down a whole rabbit hole, but anyways.
Yeah. But again, it's just one more piece of awareness in 2020 that we need to, again, step outside of our, our little world and understand that it's bigger than us and it's outside of us. And there are constant reminders happening. Thank goodness. We're going to jump through some of these. June 26th, Whole Food workers are sent home for wearing Black Lives Matter masks. I put this in there, not because it's not notable, it is. However, this is, again, another example of a major corporation taking a stand on something that the wrong way, when it could have been a really empowering moment to do it the right way and have all this attention and set a tone.
Yes.
Missed the mark.
And once again, goes back to like, all of the things that you talk about with like businesses and stuff. They got it real wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And honestly, of all the money you spend marketing, obviously there's a much more important moral conversation here, but all the money you spend on the business side to market, PR, make things look a certain way, talk about our values, that washes it all away. So I don't know where your heart's actually at, but the business game, if that's just what you care about, you're messing it up. That's not how it's played.
But the small businesses take note, because Amazon can afford to make these mistakes. The smaller businesses cannot afford to make that mistake.
Right. Yep. Checks and balances, they are happening. Epstein and his girlfriend are, everything's coming to light around them. They've been arrested. This is July 2nd. That's, again, another example of white man in power with money that is deep in these sexual assault crimes. I mean, I don't even know how many there were. Him, Weinstein, Epstein. I don't know if there's a running thing with the Steens there, but
I've been drawing the parallel, which it's not even drawing a parallel. Like, they know that he was besties with Trump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, they're in photos together.
Okay. And now, I'm sure people are like, that's a deep fake, which is like, I'm sorry, what? There's a picture of literally Trump kissing Epstein on the forehead. What are you doing?
No, they have quotes and stuff like, okay. I mean, if someone says that, it's just like, okay, I'm tired.
And then when Ghislaine went to jail, when they arrested her, Trump was like, I don't really know her, but I hope she's okay. Like, you know what? All right. Okay.
Well, she's okay. She's gonna die in jail just like he did. That we already know. It's a foregone conclusion.
No, I mean, I haven't really checked on her. I need to do my Googles, but
is she still alive?
I mean, we would have known if she was dead.
Well, let's just not give her any more airtime, because that's both of them. I mean, I think it all is a very karmatic circle. So whatever you think you got away with, it's coming at you.
Absolutely.
July 3rd, 2 police officers in Aurora, Colorado are fired after one resigns. The 3 had taken and shared photos reenacting a chokehold used in the death of Elijah McClain. This is our backyard. Yeah.
And rest in peace to Elijah McClain. Prayers to his family still to this day.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw, but there were a lot of peaceful protests going on downtown for Elijah McClain, but also in Aurora. There's also footage, if people want to look, there's footage of having the peaceful protest, people having like playing violins, beautiful evening. And then the police come through and like shooting pellets and gas and all this crazy stuff.
Yeah. No, I had a bunch of friends down at that, and I heard firsthand stories of what was going on, and it was very much just what you said. It was pretty crazy and pretty intense, and he was really a good little soul.
Like, it was a very peaceful time. Like, if anything, it was like in memoriam, and they're out here like messing that up. Like, what can people have around here? But also, Aurora Police Department is known for some really sketchy things, and I'm gonna leave that there.
I was gonna say, the guy resigned, didn't he? Don't we have a new chief of police in Aurora?
I thought it was I
Do
don't
we?
remember.
Is it a black woman?
From COVID. I don't know, girl.
We're gonna blame COVID for everything. So facts. Yeah, fact checkers, check us out. The Supreme Court, July 8th, rejects claims of presidential immunity and rules President Trump must release his financial records to prosecutors in New York. July 14th, the Trump administration orders hospitals to bypass the CDC and send all COVID patient information to a central database in Washington. July 17th, Secretary.
Oh, my best friend. I have to say there. My best friend, shout out to Rose. Not sure if you're listening. I didn't have a chance to text her, but love you, friend. She is a doctor. And she told me when they had to like start sending their stuff straight to like wherever the Trump administration wanted to send things. So there is a very intense discrepancy on what we're seeing in the news and what's being reported.
I think so. Yeah. Oh no, that's that's running theme of this. I'm getting comments that audio is bad. Is your phone turned down?
Oh, hold on. Okay. Is that better?
Yeah, let me see it. Anyone listening, is audio better?
Please phone in.
I'm hearing the second audio come back from something. My phone is basically on mute though.
I know, mine is like really low.
See if you can just turn it all the way down.
It won't let me turn it all the way down. So hold on. I'm putting of all things, I put my mask under it.
Hey.
We'll see if that works.
Oh, it's saying it's still not good. Shoot, I don't know what the kickback is.
I don't know.
I don't either. Oh, is it what's maybe coming out of the computer? Do you have earphones by chance?
Oh, I do.
Try putting those on and see if that mutes the voice from the computer.
Okay. What is that? You hear that?
And she's gone. See if that works.
Let's see. Okay. Cool. That should help.
Is that better?
How is that?
Wait, no, now I think it's even louder from my phone. Is it better? Claire, is that worse?
Help, Claire.
Dude, wait, your earphones are plugged in your computer, right? Or they're connected?
My earphones are plugged into my phone, so it doesn't like give feedback to my computer.
Can you connect your earphones to your Zoom? So there's no sound coming out of your computer? Yeah. See if that works.
Do that.
It's my mic?
Let me
try this then.
Oh.
Let me see. It might just be me altogether. Let's try this. If not, Ashley has no feedback. Okay, so maybe it's just mine. Let me just try this. Stand by.
We're gonna get this.
Maybe. Did it stop? Okay, it stopped. Okay, well, I guess I won't wear headphones. Wait, now I can't really hear you, Ashely. No, it's back, but better. Get rid of your earphones too. Maybe that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Okay, better?
I think
Can you hear me?
Live with that, it's like, it's brutal.
Yeah. Rude. Can you hear me okay at least?
Yeah, I can. Zoom and Instagram, get together and have a strategic partnership so we can do this because it's all about us.
We're in the middle of things, doggone it.
Jeez.
Hold on.
Jeez.
Hold on.
Okay.
Okay.
We are back. All right.
We're back.
Let's
Theon, edit that out.
Thank you, Pam, for helping us. Okay. I did know, like Kobe Bryant, Regis Philbin passed away on July 24th. There was like 5 or 6 really.
R.I.P. to Regis. He was my childhood.
Dude, I'm telling you, like big deal, like old school TV personality, like big deal. Alex Trebek. I mean, we lost a bunch of good humans.
Oh man, and he had that long battle with cancer, and I thought he was gonna do well. Like he was like killing it for a while, and then yeah,
we thought he was gonna get better, but this is also so August 2nd. Fire everywhere started to go. Firefighters continue to battle the apple fire that burned 20,000 acres in Cherry Valley and surrounding areas of Riverside and San Bernardino counties, destroying one home and prompting evacuations of thousands of others. That's crazy. August 7th. What's that?
No, I was saying just like, right. That was so crazy.
Corruption everywhere. August 7th through 16th, more than 400,000 people, most without face masks, and who didn't follow social distancing guidelines participate in activities related to the Sturgis motorcycle rally in South Dakota.
I do remember. And what we are now calling a super spreader event.
August 11th, Joe Biden announces Senator Kamala Harris of California as his vice presidential running mate, the first woman of color to appear on a majority party's presidential ticket. Big.
Kamala.
It's real. I'm a fan. And I'm a fan of Maya Rudolph on SNL that does her. So it's a win-win.
It was she's perfect.
Literally, it's a win-win all the way around. Okay. The National Democratic Convention is staged August 17th through 20th. Everything is happening virtual. The Democrats formally chose Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as their nominees for their 2020 presidential ticket. August 18th, NBC Universal outs a longtime Universal Studio executive, Ron Meyer, after learning he made hush money payments to a woman to cover up an old affair, a secret that Meyer said snowballed into an extortion plot. So again, another situation. August 19th, Apple becomes the first US company to be valued at more than $2 trillion.
That I didn't know.
Huge. Like, then again, kind of like the Elon Musks, like you have these humans with this amount of power and influence. That's a big deal.
Right.
Yeah. August 20th, former Trump advisor Stephen K. Bannon is arrested and charged with fraud over a private fundraising campaign to build a border wall. August 23rd, protest breaks out in Kenosha, Wisconsin after the shooting of a 29-year-old Jacob Blake by a police officer. August 24th through 27th, the Republican National Convention is held in Charlotte, North Carolina and Washington. President Trump and Vice President Pence are formally nominated as the GOP's 2020 presidential ticket. August 25th, 2 people are shot and killed during unrest in Kenosha, Wisconsin. A suspect is arrested soon after professional athletes start to boycott their sports to protest the shooting of Jacob Blake. I kind of wish the athletes, I mean, obviously Kaepernick was doing it a long time ago, but I wish the athletes would have stepped up right away. And I'm really not to call them out saying they didn't do it right, because I think that is a tough situation, and I really applaud them for stepping out at all. again, just these influential points, particularly for our young humans, I think that's when people are really like leaning in and starting to pay attention.
Absolutely.
So, another big one, August 28th, actor Chadwick Boseman dies at 43 following a previously undiagnosed battle with colon cancer.
Girl, I still remember that day.
Oh yeah, I think did I come do my lashes that day or something?
No, we were we were together.
What were we doing?
We were at somebody's house.
Oh yes.
That was
no
that.
wonder I forgot that. Yeah, pass. That's hilarious, by the way. That whole date, man. Yeah, that seems about right. Holy cow.
Yeah. My best friend Rose had texted me and she was like, did you hear the news? And I was like, girl, what? I'm at somebody's house having a glass of wine, man. I finally got outside. And she was like, oh, you call me later. Like she refused to tell me what happened.
Yeah.
Until I got home.
I just watched his latest movie on Netflix. Oh my God, I'm gonna totally botch the name. COVID.
Is that good?
Bottom something, Rose Hand Bottom something. I can't. I'm
something,
totally.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's really good. Viola Davis. Isn't that who's the lead actress? She's amazing in everything.
Yes.
Is that her? Yeah. I literally just watched it. I'm totally drawing a blank, but she's unbelievable. He's good in it. Just to see how thin he is, and you kind of see the backstory of knowing how hard he was working when he was that sick. I mean, it's pretty incredible. Right. He does in that role. When you watch it, it's a demanding role, like physically.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Let me get myself together, but I do want to watch it.
Yeah, no, you do. It's actually really good. And September 18th, long-serving Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg dies at 87. So we lost some phenomenal, like really good humans this year. It's kind of crazy that every year obviously we're gonna lose people, but
we lost like phenomenal people. And to go, like the overarching theme of 2020 is obviously COVID-19. Think of all the people who lost somebody. Like there were 2 people in my family that passed away from it. So think of all the people. And I've been watching the news and there are people who lost their entire immediate family to COVID.
Yeah.
A lot of loss this year.
It's insane. When you really think that, people could think it's a hoax or whatever. And it kind of blows my mind that they don't know anyone that's been impacted by this. Like it's so rampant at this point that blows my mind.
I think some people do. And I think they're just blaming it on the they weren't that healthy anyway. They're spinning it however they want to spin it.
Yeah. I just put my silent mode on. So I hope that, it's still sounding. Anyways, I got nothing on you. I got nothing. This is Eddie Van Halen died at 65 on October 6th. The NFL was starting to close all their stuff down. The Tampa Bay Lightning beat Dallas. So there's a few things that kind of went off that were positive. I guess the sports winning as best they could do. October 8th, FBI announces 13 men have been charged in the plot of kidnapping Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. That's a little bit crazy to me. The Lakers defeat the Miami Heat on October 11th.
Shout out to LeBron.
I got to give a shout out to the NBA and how progressive they are with allowing messages on jerseys, really infiltrating the message around racial and social justice and COVID, like doing the bubble and really getting locked down there. Like I really think of all the athletic associations and organizations, the NBA is really one to watch business-wise, regardless of how you feel about basketball.
The NBA has always been for the players and for the people. That's one thing that I'll always give the NBA. I may not watch it, but I know that they give the players way more power than the owners. NFL, not so much. It's unfortunate that that's my jam, but definitely not on the same level for sure. But NBA has always been about letting the people who are associated with them speak their truth and uplift their voices. So definitely, I hope that other leagues decide to follow suit eventually down the line.
Yeah. I think they're going to have to, but we shall see.
They have no choice.
Facts. November 3rd, California largely breezes through election day. Nationwide is a different story. After midnight, President Trump announces he has won the election and demands that all vote counting stop, alleging voter fraud. But with millions of votes still to be counted, no news organization declared a presidential winner.
I mean, once again, this man and his administration has been on brand since he was campaigning, for God's sakes.
Facts. November 7th, after days of waiting, major news organizations declare that Joe Biden has secured enough electoral college votes to win the presidency.
So did you go outside or did you see anything? What'd you do that day?
I don't think I did any. I mean, I feel like I already knew. Like, it wasn't that. I mean, it was a big deal. Don't get me wrong. Like, I had we did a call with 4 of my other girls that do podcasts, and one of them was in Brooklyn, and she said the whole street shut down. Everyone was dancing out there, and it was cool. I mean, it was still kind of separated because of COVID, but it was a big deal for me personally. It was a big deal, and I already kind of knew it was going that way. So I'm glad it was announced, but I wasn't super surprised. And I will say a deep sense of relief in general would be like my underlining reaction.
I think we all took a deep breath.
Yeah.
I think we all knew how this was going to go, but this goes back to what I was going to say, what we're about to get to. Think of how close it was.
Yeah.
Think of all of the like millions, tens of millions of people who voted otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah. More people voted than ever.
It wasn't a landslide. It was not a landslide. And think of, you know, the whole thing in itself and how asinine it was. Now, I know there are some Trump supporters that I do know that are like, okay, Biden won. I don't agree, whatever. But there are still people out there who are like, oh, no, he was robbed, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I'm sorry. What? So the thing that gets me is, you know, at midnight, Trump came on and was like, oh, you know, I won, let's stop the counting. Fam, that's never how it's worked. And that's not how you wanted it to work 4 years ago.
Right.
Make it make sense.
Dude, and even if that was Joe saying
at
that.
Midnight, you were running against Hillary. You would have lost, you idiot.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But I would say this, even if it was Joe doing the exact same thing, I would have the same reaction. Like, what are you doing?
The same reaction.
Why?
I'm talking about democracy. I'm not talking about either side.
Right.
I'm talking about democracy. That's not how democracy works. We don't just stop the voting because you're ahead at this hour. What?
And that's not even, yeah. And this is a system
that's not winning
to support you, and that you were running at one point, and now you're going against it. It's okay. Yeah.
That's how this democracy is how you got there.
Yeah.
That's how you got there. So
it's gonna be real interesting. But 50% of our nation essentially doesn't agree. So I'm curious to see, and I get it. To be honest, I think both sides are, it's brutal, and there's no ideal opportunity for either side. But I'm curious to see how things progress moving forward. And, you know, in our next election, if we do have more morally dialed in candidates, because now people are caring, they're paying attention, they're voting. I mean, more people voted than ever. There were some upsides to this entire situation that people are not paying attention. Absolutely. So I don't know, maybe it's like the breakthrough point. So coming, you know, in 4 years from now, we have a different conversation. I don't know.
We can only hope. We'll see what lessons people take from 2020 and hold with them.
Keep that champagne close. November 8th, Jeopardy host Alex Trebek dies following a long battle with pancreatic cancer. Cheers to him. That was major loss.
R.I.P. He was like a major part of my childhood as well.
Were you a big Jeopardy watcher?
Yeah, Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune.
We watched Wheel of Fortune. My brothers, I think, watched Jeopardy. I didn't really watch it too much. We had a computer game that was Jeopardy that only had like 100 questions, so we started to learn them. But like that was my exposure to Jeopardy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I played that, and I know for a fact that we had Wheel of Fortune on PlayStation 1.
Right.
That's how old I am.
Oh, I had the regular or the Nintendo before Super Nintendo. So my dad even had Atari. Like,
okay, Dad.
I know. But yeah, no. I wish I still had it. I'd sell it. Okay,
of course.
You know this. November 9th, Pfizer says early data on its coronavirus vaccine candidate suggests that the shots may be 90% effective at preventing this disease. Big. Internationally, November 16th, Hurricane Iota makes landfall in Nicaragua as a Category 4 storm just 2 weeks after Hurricane ETA, hit, devastating the same area. That's insane.
We've had a lot of hurricanes happening this year, and a lot of them landed.
Yeah. Well, hurricanes, fire, like energetic disruption. Again, you see these, like, the through line of all this is like major eruption. Like everything's burning, drowning, fighting, looting. Like there's just like this
anything.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
November 29th, this was actually national news. The Denver Broncos are forced to play a practice squad receiver at quarterback after all 4 of the team's quarterbacks are disqualified due to virus testing and safety protocols. That was crazy. I'm sure you watched the game, didn't you?
Of course I did. I don't want to talk about it.
Okay. I felt for the dude. I'm like, way to get a stat. And like,
he was working like some sales job.
Dude. Hey, you know what?
And they were like, hey, can you come through and play? And I mean, shout out to him.
This is why you stay ready. December 11th, the Supreme Court rejects a highly unusual lawsuit filed by Texas that urged the justices to overturn the election result by nullifying President-elect Joe Biden's victory in 4 key states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia. None of those went through.
Jesus. Thank God democracy works in some aspects.
December 14th, the first COVID-19 vaccinations start in the United States. The first doses are expected to go frontline healthcare workers, residents of long-term care facilities, followed by other at-risk groups. December 14th, the Electoral College confirms Joe Biden's victory over President Trump.
Yes.
December 20th, more than 317,000 people in the United States have died from COVID-19. The international death toll is 1.69 million. Yes. There's all our ones. I don't want to keep it too much longer because I'm feeling for Theon, but I want to go through your list because I actually think that's the most poignant piece of the conversation. We're saving the meat till the end. Why don't you dive into like what you wrote down? Because I think it's critical.
So we've talked about a lot of like things that happen nationally and globally, but I kind of wanted to go a little bit like granular and more like idealistic. So one theme that I saw that was happening a lot was friendships and relationships during COVID. You saw a lot of like breakdowns, a couple of breakthroughs, but a lot of breakdowns. How did you feel about that?
This has come up on probably 3 out of my last 4 casts because I'm really a laid back human in general, in case you can't tell. If you want to do something in your world, I don't really care. Even if we're friends and like, I think it's morally loose or we just have different opinions or we live differently. Like, I don't really care what most people do as long as you're not harming somebody. But I've really learned that we know this, you are your friends and you are the energy you keep around you. So this year has been a major awakening for me of really having hard boundaries and letting some long friendships go. And it's weird. It's like I've mourned it. And also, it's right. And I say that with empathy and grace, like no anger or hatred or anything like that. It's just, it doesn't serve my world. And I don't think that my friendships serve theirs, or I don't even know how they feel, but you got to go with what's real.
Right. I think you hit all of the points that I wrote down of like not having hard boundaries, you know? And, the thing that made me think is, I think what happened to me this year was I was vacillating between, time served and does this person serve me? And not in a selfish way of like, you have to do X, Y, and Z to meet my needs, but do we serve each other? What is the purpose of our friendship if we take very superficial things outside of it? What do we have after that? And so I think a lot of people have been experiencing that in 2020. So I thought that was very important to touch on, and also like to empower people of like, you know, if this person doesn't serve you regardless, like, hey girl, how's it
going? They're ready for their dinner and Colette doesn't F around, but yeah, they're good.
But yeah, like if that person doesn't serve you either side, either way, you could feel that on either way, you know, like you might have to, you go ahead and make your exit. And like you said, like there's no hate, no animosity, but I think I'm hoping that people are coming to a space, especially me, I've come to a space of, okay, like what is really important in your life? And I think COVID has really like shown that to be important because you've taken all of the superficial things out. We don't go to the club. We don't go to football games. We don't do like super social things. So the people that are closest to you and that mean a lot to you withstand you not having to do super like social things to stay together is what I've kind of, what's popped out to me. Because the people that have not made it in friendship or we've moved on from each other, it was kind of like on a superficial thing, or it was like, oh God, I've known you for 12 years. Oh, let's just hang it on in there. Like, no, that's not what friendship is. That's not what it is. So yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting because I don't think it was just us who have been experiencing these things.
It's come up, like I said, in multitude of conversations. Shout out Claire. We did one specifically on boundaries and she's on right now. Listen to that. It was really good and was immediately relevant in my world. And no, it's come up so much because I think, like you said, now it's become, I hate to say a chore, but like you have to put on energy to be like, let's Zoom call, let's catch up versus like, I'll see you at the club and like whatever. We see each other at 50 tequilas and we call it a day. This is like, now we actually have to be like, how are you? What's going on? And there's probably only a few people you do that with anyways. And that's all you really need.
Yeah. Right.
You know, it's, I don't know, it's opportunity cost, like you said. And if you have other things going on in your life, family stuff, animals, schooling, jobs, you know, there's only so much to go around. And it is a bizarre thing for me to think like, no, you just can't be friends with them. Like, cause to me, it's like, I can work. You don't need to have these hard lines. And like, actually, okay, call it what you want, meaning me, but like, really, are you actually friends? No. So like, just let it
correct. I feel like 2020 made people get to the core of everything. So I thought that was very fascinating. Another thing that I thought was very interesting was animal adoption.
Yeah. Hey, you already know
the root.
Which I'm so glad to see.
Like, shout out Dakota.
I was looking for him.
Yes, and you saw you know, shelters emptied out.
Empty. And I waited 6 months for Coda, my third rescue pup, and it was like not a whole thing, but it was definitely a wait. But I was so glad to see it. Like, people are, you know, taking in animals and it's a big deal. And I think it's so good for humans to get back in touch with nature, even if that means having a domestic dog in your house. It's close. I love it.
Close enough.
You're an auntie of 3. Yeah. My mom goes, out. Dude, Claire goes, we still have 50 tequila shots, also fast. Dude, your real friends know. Like, the thing is, your real ones, it didn't change. Like, maybe it's digitally, maybe it's not.
Change.
Like, it's more just like a mindset of like, just let it be what it is and like move on.
Absolutely. So I thought that was very fascinating. I mean, even me being at work, like everybody has a COVID dog. So I was like, oh, really? I need a COVID dog. But I'm like, yes, they call it COVID dogs.
Did you tell them you have 3 nieces and nephews?
Oh yeah, I talk about my nieces and nephews all the time.
Oh, good. Okay.
You know, shout out to Cleo because I always need to let her know she's number 1 in my life.
Oh, good. Because she's listening. She's here somewhere. And she does not.
Side eye.
That's a situation. Yes.
So I thought that was cool.
No, I was gonna say, you keep going with your thing. I want you to get to like your varsity pro tip therapy nuggets.
No, you want to talk about mental health?
Yes.
So mental health. Yes. I thought it was very fascinating. I feel like everybody has been having their breakthrough, regardless if they've been getting therapy or not. Me personally, I started therapy, I think May or June of this year. Part of it was, the majority of it was from the loss of my grandma last year. So I just really wasn't coping very well. And I just needed to figure out like, what can I do? What do I need to do? Because like, this is not going to end well for me if I don't seek out help or figure out a new way to think and move on with my life, or, you know, figure out how to deal. So that's how that started out for me. But, you know, like therapy, they touch on every aspect of your life. So I thought it was very fascinating because I know a lot of like prescription drugs have like gone up. I know opioids, like they're really restricting that, but I know people have been seeking out more help from therapists. I know that a lot of people have been trying to get in with therapists and therapists are full. So I thought that was very interesting. What's your take on the whole mental health thing going on so far?
I mean, God, I think it's kind of like the race conversation. Like we're long overdue to really start addressing these things like head on and like get into the depths of what's going on, why, and how do we deal with all of it, and how do we unpack it and then deal with it together. I think, you know, particularly our young people trying to digest these really adult conversations, even though they're living in this world on the daily, probably more than a lot of adults, is intricate and tricky. But anytime, you know, with me, it's that you can better yourself, dial yourself in, get to know, find some sort of grounding. And again, the coping mechanisms, that skill set is so critical. We need that for everything. And just like you all your whole life, it's together, just like all these things, these situations of 2020 of fires and natural disasters and the elections crazy and COVID and race wars and all this. I mean, everything's erupting. It's just like your life. You can't, if one thing's out, everything's out. You got to dial it all in. So I think it's critical. And I'm glad the conversations are happening.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I guess that leads to, you know, the prepaid gems is what I've been calling it, because we've been having multiple conversations about my therapy sessions, and I'm like giving you all the free game left and right, which love it. But you know, I definitely want to touch on mental health because I know people have been going through it. What have people been doing to like keep themselves sane? I know me personally, like I picked up piano. So that's been my last therapy session, I realized that that's been my source of meditation, is me playing the piano. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but I changed my hair. I did this myself.
I love it, dude. You're full one-stop beauty shop teen situation. Girl, like checking all the boxes.
I don't need nothing else. I don't need nothing else but like a hair shop to just buy the product, and I'll just do it myself. So things I've learned in COVID, how to do by myself instead of paying hundreds of dollars to have somebody else do it. But, you know, I think it's been very fascinating to see how people have coped with COVID. I know that puzzles were out of stock. Like you couldn't find a puzzle because people were like, you know, putting together puzzles to keep themselves sane. People were buying up, you know, like gaming consoles before the PS5, you know, just to keep themselves sane. There's a lot of things that people have been doing to like keep their mental health somewhat okay. So I thought that was very interesting. One thing that I wanted to talk about, like while we're on like with mental health, but like kind of like the overarching thing of like our whole podcast, is one of like the prepaid gems that I have is that my therapist talks a lot about unity. And so he says that like unity is essentially what all human beings are striving for. We just need to like work through like the things that like prevent us from getting to unity. So that could be a lack of boundaries. That could be your childhood. That could be fill in the blank. And so I feel like that was very like, you know, transforming for me, because I was like, well, what, you know, like you think like very existentially, like, what are we even doing here when you're going through like a really rough time? So I thought that was very interesting. How do you, so the one thing that I think is like about unity, I use the word unity with like sharing. So when I think of like sharing, unity as in like I share like my piano playing with people, like you share your podcast with people. Like we all have like skill sets and like passions. And I feel like when we all can like share that with each other freely, it brings us together. And I kind of feel like 2020 has like forced us to do that. Like, shout out to my friend Alexis. she's been, during COVID, she has been baking up a storm. So she would drop off like cookies and like banana bread at my door. Like when COVID was really bad, we couldn't see each other, she would just like drop off food at my door. So like, I think of like unity as like, what are the things that we are sharing with each other and how can we do that, you know, to like bring ourselves together and be like a tighter community and then go up a step further, a better society.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think innately humans create, whether that's music or food or whatever, like we need to be creating. And when you pull back and you're quarantined, like you're confined, you find your outlet to create. And that's what ultimately binds us. That's why I love sports and music, because it is such a universal language that brings people together. And I mean, most of my like good friends now, we met through either a mutual friend or through CrossFit, like fitness, or something we already had in common. And then we found out how much more we had in common because of those things. So I completely agree. I think those unifying points are critical and what we should get back to anyways, because that's what human beings are. Like human beings are creating, like that's what our brain, like the base of what we do and how you feel good. And shout out to Ashely has a phenomenal piano video that she learns by ear up on Facebook right now. It's pretty impressive. And shout out to your sister for doing excellent cinematography and encouragement.
Yeah, shout out to my sister.
Yes, facts.
And so like I thought of like the opposite, like, you know, if we're not in unity, you think of like negativity and distrust and boundary violation, like stuff that we were talking about prior, like with like losing friendships or, you know, the state of the world, like disunity. But then like I still see like the small pieces of unity that come through that still like make me excited. So I still feel like 2020 has like forced us to be creative because there's been so much disunity. So I'm kind of interested to see like what 2021 and like the years beyond bring, now that people have like kind of, I feel like people have kind of gotten in touch with their creativity or like their purpose beyond what their job is, their 9-to-5 is every day.
I agree. I think it's just like the fires or, you know, the loss of life we've experienced. Now we're at this point of like, how do we pull back and come back together and figure out, like, we're at this breakdown point. We're at this pivot point. We're ready for this breakthrough point. And I mean, I think that brings, the whole entire conversation together about 2020 is this is the breakdown phase. And some of it's like, finally, like these needed to happen. And now we have the opportunity in 2021 for the breakthrough phase where we can get our shit together. And I don't think it'll happen in a year, but I think we at least, we know what we need to do in for the most part.
Exactly. So number 2 goes back to what I was talking about earlier, because it just goes to the whole podcast. But remember I asked you like, what is your plumb line? Yeah. So this isn't necessarily like something that came out of therapy, but it came from like a really good mentor of mine. So once again, think of like a plumb line, like, you know, you tie a string to the wall and put a weight at the bottom. So it's like completely straight. If you don't know what your values are, what your standards are, what you care about are, you're going to set that wallpaper off. Or if you eye it, like what she says, if you eye it instead of go off a plumb line, what your true values are, or whatever that is, it's going to be a little bit off. Yeah. And then you set another set of wallpaper. It's going to be a little bit here. It keeps going. It keeps going. The thing that it makes me think about what I did learn in therapy is perception. So what's important is you need to really take care of like your mental health. So you know that whatever you're thinking of or whatever perception you have is like I don't want to say right or wrong, but like a clear perception. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to think of a perception coming from your childhood. You don't want to think of a perception of what people told you can or cannot do, because that's going to alter how you see the world. Yeah. So if you keep seeing the world through different ways, that is not the true 90-degree angle, it's going to end up super wrong. And then I think that's where once again, I think it results into like breakdown and what I think we're experiencing in 2020. I think the plumb line, we never really went off a plumb line. We've been eyeing it for centuries. Mm-hmm. And now we're here and now we're having a breakthrough of like, oh, well, values and standards should we have in our society? How can we get back here? So I think that's important, like to have the right perception of what's going on around you, because then you can respond correctly. Because if you're responding like with a lot of like chips on your shoulder, you're not going to respond the way that you would prefer to respond or what the occasion asks for.
Yeah. I completely agree. I do think, I think we've been eyeing it, as you say, for a really long time, and or not even that, it's been okay to be a certain way forever, and now it's not. And so like there's some major adjustment across the board that has to happen. And the good news is I do think it's happening. I think it's going to happen in our lifetime. Nothing will ever be perfect, but I really do have faith for what's moving forward, and for our young people, stepping in and taking the lead eventually. I just think there's a lot there, and the perception is key too, because we are myopic humans and we see things through our lens and our experience, and there's value to that, but that doesn't always mean that's the truth. And I think you really have to see what's truthfully happening in addition to how you experience it. And that's how you can make an educated decision, action, step forward. Because we have been living in our own world too much, and now we need to see what's really going on.
Exactly. And so when you have like a clear mind or clear perception, you can make better choices. So you're not making choices from your past. You're not making choices from fear. You're not making choices from emotion. So hopefully there's less anger, there's less sadness. You're able to control your emotions. And then the way you react to what's happening around you is much better. So that's one thing that I thought was like, oh man. And on top of that, if you're able to make better choices, you're able to see like what's good and what's not so good for you. So when we were talking about friendships, at that time with like certain people that I was friends with, my mind wasn't in the right, I wasn't having the right perception when I made friends with certain people.
Yeah.
So, I think that once again, my plumb line was off, and then you take 10, 15 years, you're going to end up here because that's how your friendship started. It's not going to end well if you don't start it right.
Right.
And I think that's, go ahead.
I was going to say, some of those things you just have to learn over time. Like you don't know till you know.
Yeah.
Which sucks. But like,
I know. I'm like, can we not?
I know. And it's like, no, we do have to. Like, it's got to be this dramatic because we're probably not going to change if it's not.
Right. So the last thing that has been like super major to me that came out of therapy, free game, everybody, is the idea of forgiveness. So I know that you and I have had like plenty of conversations about this offline. And so, like depending on what you believe in or how you were raised, whatever, but you may have been taught like forgiveness is for you, not the other person. And me, I'm a very rational person of like, how is it for me and not them? Like tell me how. You tell me X, Y, and Z works, I will do it. But if you just tell me because it's like a principle, I'm not doing it until it makes sense for me. So I think, so like we've discussed this, but the breakthrough I had in therapy was forgiveness. I think the missing ingredient that people miss is time. So you have to give time to let true reconciliation play out. So I will speak for myself. Like if I have like a breakdown, trying to have a breakthrough with a friend, I want to have it as soon as possible because my brain works is like, I'm not going to let you sweep things under the rug and then, we blow up about it later. I'm going to tell you what I don't like right now. We're going to fix it. Or I want you to tell me what you don't like about me right now so I can fix it. But a lot of people don't work that way. And you can't force true reconciliation. So me, I'm like, let's fix it. And then people are like, I don't want to fix it right now.
Yeah. No, I think
that's
exactly the same way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So you're not a sweep it under the rug person?
No, I want to deal with it right then, right there. Like let's exercise the demons. But I don't think that's the right way to go 98% of the time. Like sometimes it is. Like there are some times where it's like, this is unacceptable and we're going to get into it right this second. But overall, I think that you do need to let it marinate and get clear mind, let the dust settle, and then know how you want to move forward. So my phone's shutting down now. It's perfect.
Oh,
I get all the things.
But yeah, so agreed. Like, I feel like don't force it, don't rush it, let it happen in its time. And also I feel like it's for healthy relationships, you want to break, maybe you started on plumb line and it got a little funky, but only if it's meant to relationship.
Dude, I'm so with you. And I think that's actually like a perfect wrap up point, because it's like, now we've had this year, we've had this, breakdown, whatnot. Now we can totally recalibrate and be very intentional on how we want to move forward, what we want to do, and continue to learn about ourselves, our peers, our people around us, our environment, and do better. Like, we just need to do better, everybody.
Yeah. And on top of that, like we were saying, like, take time to do better, take time to like reflect. If you've lost anything or like a friendship or anything, take time to like think about it, get clear about it, take time to grieve the friendship, and then take time to forgive yourself. Because I think a lot of people feel, like me personally, I feel like a lot of like inner frustration of like, why did I let it get this far? But you got to forgive yourself. And also, like what we've discussed, set boundaries and hold on to those boundaries. And I think we're all going to be set, like not just 2020, but like beyond. But I'm hoping that like, hopefully some of this free game might, help people want to like realize like the inner work that they want to do, or the inner work that they have been doing, and they feel empowered and like to take it on through to 2021 and then some, because we're going to be different people after what we've all experienced this year.
I hope so. I mean, one can only hope, like the evolution is moving forward.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
you have no choice.
Yeah, we all got to do. I mean, the title of this cast, I literally think is going to be "Dear Everyone, Do Better." Like, because that's how we've got to show up for 2021, and like, and really just be aware, like work harder, do more, and at the same time, being still, being clear, self-care, like the balance of upping all the angles so we can come correct for this new year coming through.
Yeah. And let's all set us a new plumb line. Let's start. I feel like 2020 has made us reset. Now let's like keep it straight, and let's see what happens from there, and see all of the unity that could come out of it. That's what excites me for next year. Like, this year, has it been tough? Yes, but I think it's been useful in a lot of ways.
I completely agree. Is there one thing, I don't want to say like this has been like a negative. I know there's a lot of negatives in the happenings, but it was kind of more just like factual. But just to end on a positive note, is there one thing you're super grateful for, or a few things this year that have really stood out as far as like keeping gratitude as the forefront of the conversation?
Oh God. Okay. So I think like when it ties into like humanity in general, like the silver, like, although it's crap, humanity has really like pulled through and made strides. So I saw on that, like, it's like little small things for me. So I saw on the news that there's this like, there are all of these people all over the country making lasagnas for families who don't have enough food. And I thought that was beautiful. I saw that on the news that there are people who are raising money on GoFundMe to give out money to restaurant workers. And I thought that was beautiful. And that made me like, I cry all the time. So it made me want to cry. Yeah. So, and then like going like smaller, granular, like to my personal life, like I think of all of my family and friends that are still alive. Like I lost my dad this year. So it makes you hold the people that are closer to you so much tighter and appreciate them so much more. So I appreciate, like I told you about my friend Alexis, who would just drop off food at my door. Like when COVID was like really intense, she'd be like, here's some banana bread. Love you. Okay, bye. You know? There was one time that I was like socially distant hanging out in my mom's front yard. And that was when it was after the George Floyd protest, but it got really intense in Denver. Like things were on fire and like it was a mess. And I live in the middle of downtown. Shout out to Adam and Leah. They came and picked me up from my mom's house and I spent the night at their house because I couldn't go home. you know, like little things like that. And I think like overarching for 2020, and you know, I hate to make it about like race relations, but it really warmed my heart to see people grow their empathy for people of color.
Yeah.
That really touched my heart, you know, like I think people are finally realizing it's not just about me. And like, even speaking as a Black woman, it's not just about me. I want rights for Indian people. I want rights for Asian people. I want rights for gay people, you know? So I think like people's empathy outside of their normal is starting to grow. And that has made me happy for 2020. As weird as that sounds.
No, that really well said. I completely agree. I think
and even you, like, you have made me so happy. Like, I started like a different arm of my business, like, you know, doing my facial kits, and you know, you've been super supportive and like getting out the word and stuff like that. Oh, stop it. See, you got a box right there.
Here,
like, a lot of my friends and family have been so supportive of my business, especially when my business took a nosedive due to COVID-19. So people have been so supportive, and you know, like another great thing, you know, like obviously, like I know you hate when people just like talk about all the amazing things that you are, but like I always say this, like people can give you like 40% and you give them 120% back. And that gives me joy. That makes me happy. That makes me get through 2020. So thank you.
Well, I'm glad somebody's happy about that.
Of course. You're literally the only, like, a lot of my friends are very giving in X, Y, and Z, and like they know who they are, but you're like a multiplier is what I like to think of. Like I could put something in you and you give it back like times 5.
I try. I mean, honestly, I got to give a shout out to my mom's listening. My mom is like the one that's like the baseline of that. She just does. Yeah, she does the most. It's so funny. She's jumped back on. But my dad too. Like they do really give like 100 when it comes to us, and we're doing it. It's all the details, and so that's how I show, you know, my love, my affection, my acknowledgement. So it's a big deal. So I appreciate that.
Can you imagine if there was like a bunch of you in every little community in America? Think of how different America would be.
I mean, even 2 of us here right now seems like a lot. So I don't know if the world's feeling comfortable with that, but I'm not to knock your point. And the compliment genuinely received. I appreciate it. And this is why I have the friends I have and the people I keep in my world, because they appreciate it. And it's a reflection of how I care. And it comes back full circle to me. Even if you think you're not doing that much, it is that much to me. And that's why I maintain the humans in my world that I do, because it's absolute soul fuel for me to have the people that I have now. Like this year really has been such a blessing. Some really incredible people have come in my world and they're like my BFFs now. And we talk about important shit and hard shit and all the things that are good and bad and everything in between. So it's definitely, it's a genuine blessing.
And that's what I want for everybody. I want everybody to experience that.
Yeah.
So that's what I hope for society, not just our communities and our small friend groups, but for society going forward.
I have faith.
And that's the note I'll end on.
No, I do. I appreciate that so much. And, you know, I appreciate you. And I know our conversations serendipitously started like with a point where we're both locked down for like an hour and a half or 2 hours to like become friends and like get to know core values and what's going on in our high schools are 5 seconds apart. I mean, so you know, there's no mistaking things. And I think you said it really well, that this human side that's come out from all this, you know, tragedy and breakdown and misfortune, that human silver lining is really shining through. So I have full faith we can do collectively the Care Bear stare and get to the next level.
Yes. Oh my God, I haven't thought about that in years.
It's real. It's real. All right, I'm gonna let you do your thing. I appreciate you. I hope this audio is okay. Poor Theon. I gotta give a shout out to Theon.
So sorry, Theon. We love you so much.
Dude, he does all the things. I gotta do a full thank you to him and Fade, our TNT team that's super small, but they really are the gears in the wheels. So I appreciate them deeply. I appreciate you. I will have this out Wednesday. Just keep being the bright light that you are. That's all we really need in this world.
Yes. And you do the same. All we can do is shine our light and hope that it just, you know, rubs off on everybody else.
100. And in the meantime, keep the situation. I should do a thank you to Tequila that gives us temporary vacations from all this insanity. It makes it easy, man.
Amen. Amen.
So real.
Agreed. Well, thank you again for having me. I love doing these with you.
Yes.
And until next time.
Yes, and it'll be sooner this time because I have like a bunch of ideas that are coming up, but I know you stay ready, so stand by.
Oh.
Thank you for joining Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Tune in next time, and don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.